Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody to the January 28th, 2021 Vacaville Unified School District regular board meeting. And the first thing that we will do is just take a moment of reflection together. Next, I will ask Shelley Daly to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Hopefully I didn't ask you last time, did I? Okay, then Shelley, you're up for the pledge. You're on mute.
Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mrs. Daly.
You're so welcome.
Now we have the approval of the agenda. Jane, are there any changes?
No,
You're
sir,
on mute?
no changes.
Okay, great. Can I get a motion?
I'll move it.
I'll second.
Okay, motion is second. Teresa, roll call vote.
Okay. Mr. Conley, your vote, please.
Yes.
Mrs. Daly,
Yes.
Mr. Danson,
Yes.
Mr. Santillan,
Yes.
Mr. Serrato,
Yes.
Ms. Welsh,
Yes.
and Mr. Kitsis.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, now item 10 is report on closed session actions. During closed sessions, the board discussed personnel issues, bargaining unit negotiations, and existing litigation. The board took the following action in closed session. It approved the dismissal of a classified employee by a unanimous roll call vote of 7-0. Next, we're going to go to item 11. So for comments from the floor that are not on the agenda, that's something that doesn't have to do with agenda items. For those who would wish to make a comment on a topic that's not on the agenda, please use the raised hand feature on Zoom now, and your request will be written down, will be recorded. After the names are recorded, no more requests will be accepted. When it is your turn to speak, you'll be called on by the board secretary. So let's see if there are any. Teresa, I don't see any. You?
No, Mr. Kitsis, I don't see any hands raised.
Okay, so if you do have a,
I see one
Hold
hand.
on,
Mike, Michael, I see one hand.
hold on.
oh,
Let me get to-
Q&A, okay,
All right, here we go.
there we go. Laura Berggren. Laura, you there?
I think Jane Gallagher has her hand up. Teresa, do you see that?
I'm having trouble getting my gallery to come up. Sorry.
So it
I'm
looks
seeing,
like Jane Gallagher has her hand up.
Okay.
That's what-
I also see in the Q&A, there's a Laura Berggren.
Yeah. Ken, she says she doesn't see herself on the site. Do you know what she might mean?
Q&A, let's see.
It's under Q&A.
I don't see myself on the site. Okay, LB, Lauren.
Everybody bear with us, we'll figure it out.
It looks like she's on there. I see her on the list of
I find
attendees.
her now. Yeah, there she is. She's allowed to speak now.
Okay, Laura, you're up.
No, I didn't want to say anything. It's just that this is the first time I've been in one of these things, and I thought we would see ourselves on the screen like we do Zoom, but I only see the panel.
Correct, because it's a webinar and it's not a
Oh, okay.
regular Zoom.
Oh, okay. Thank you. That's all.
Welcome, Laura.
Thank you.
Okay, and you say there's one more?
Jane Gallagher.
Okay, Miss Gallagher.
Okay, I'm here. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate your time, and I am a teacher with your school district, and I'm also the parent of 2 secondary students. And I apologize if this is on the agenda. I don't think it is, but I basically just wanted to make a comment. I appreciate the efforts being put forth to help return elementary students. Their academic and socio-emotional needs are great. I do totally understand that. However, I would also like to be assured as a parent that there is a push for the return of secondary students to the coming quasi-semester. I hear lots about elementary, and again, I support that. But as a parent who's been home with their 2 secondary students for a year, I also see the need for them. I'm not sure what the limiting factors are for a hybrid return of secondary students. Their social emotional needs are just as important and significant. They're dealing with a reduced rigor caseload of classes. So their time is a little more open as well. And their social emotional needs are challenged a lot. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gallagher. Okay, is that it for the not on the agenda?
Yeah, no other ones.
What's up?
I don't see any other hand raised.
Okay, thank you. So if you have a comment regarding one of the agenda items, you'll be prompted to raise your hand at the time that that item is discussed. Okay, next we have school reports and presentations. Ann Silva, Landon Moore, and Julie Morazek from Orchard Elementary.
Is Ann there? Oh, there.
Anne has joined now as a panelist and should turn on her video, please.
Anne, are you with us?
This is planned meditation time.
It's part of our mindfulness initiatives that we're doing at our schools, our calming mindfulness. Teresa, was there a video or was Anne going to speak?
Yeah, I have it up. I'm ready to share the screen as soon as she gets on.
Okay, she wants to introduce it.
Yeah.
She might be having issues with her internet.
Oh,
She
yeah.
is connected, but her microphone and camera need to be turned on by her. And if you could turn on your microphone and camera, please.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
It logged me out. Good evening, President Kitsis, school board members, and Superintendent Shamiya. It is my honor and my privilege to present Orchard Elementary to you this evening.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start the video right now.
Teresa is not moving and there's no sound. I don't know.
You what, Jane?
There's no sound.
Hold on.
Are you bringing it back up, Teresa? Okay.
Elaine says there are 2 settings under audio that need to be clicked for the sound to work.
Okay, 2 settings under audio
In Zoom, she said.
In Zoom, yes.
in Zoom. So I have to stop share in here on my screen.
Yes.
So you're gonna have to help me out here. I don't know where that's at. Mute, no. Microphone, statement system.
On the arrow right next to mute, right next to the microphone, click that.
Uh-huh.
You'll be able to get to audio settings.
Over here on the right.
Yes.
Thank you. I need help.
And then,
But no video or no audio. Okay, so where are you on go to, you have to just screen share again. Like that. Which one? This one. This one. No, that one. Sorry. Okay, so we're gonna share computers. Oh, okay. All right, now we're going. All right, I'm gonna start again.
Cool.
And Superintendent Shamia, tonight I would like to present to you Orchard Elementary. In these unprecedented times, I feel it is really important to recognize the dedicated and hardworking staff at Orchard who have done an amazing job supporting students and families during this pandemic. Our incredible secretaries, Miss Stephanie and Miss Jamie, are always positive and helpful to students, staff, and families. Our custodians, Mr. Javier and Mr. Brian, help keep our school safe and clean. Mr. Javier is our classified employee of the year. Here are our amazing kindergarten teachers, Miss Jaxie, Miss Avila, and Mrs. Wallen. Next is our wonderful first grade team, Mrs. Hoke, Mrs. Wallen, and Mrs. Sost. This is our terrific second grade team, Mrs. Vasquez, Miss Curtis, and Miss Spolstra. Meet our awesome third grade team, Mrs. Kraft and Mrs. Capps. Here is our super fourth grade team, Mrs. Riggert and Mr. O'Connell. Our fifth grade team consists of the amazing Miss Jordan and Miss Bryan. Here is our fascinating sixth grade team, Mrs. McGilvery and Miss Morris. Here are our unbelievable special education teachers, Mrs. Bronson, our teacher of the year, Miss Armstrong, Miss Gruber, Mrs. Nakamura, and Mrs. Pillsbury. Here are our awesome special educational paraprofessionals, Miss Ashley, Miss Veronica, Miss Tracy, Miss Sonita, Miss Tasha, Miss Hazel, Miss Carrie, Miss Jennifer, Miss Beth, and Miss Amanda. Let's meet our amazing student monitors and crossing guard. Miss Sharon, Miss Charlene, Miss Teresa, Miss Leslie, and Miss Janice. Next is our wonderful librarian, Miss Kim, and our cafeteria manager, Josefina Gonzalez de Sacido. Our marvelous mental health team is Miss Jessie, our psychologist, and Miss Danielle, our mental health clinician. This is our admin team, our response to intervention coordinator, Mrs. Pettibone, and myself, Ann Silva, the very fortunate principal of such an amazing school.
Orchard's mission can be categorized in 3 main avenues: safe environment, school goals, and responsibilities. Orchard is a safe and supportive environment that emphasizes self-esteem and the mastery of academics and life skills to help students become lifelong learners. Orchard's goals include cultivating each child's intellectual capabilities, their awareness of culture and human values, as well as multicultural differences, and being environmentally responsible. Our last avenue in our mission is that the Orchard School community believes that teaching and learning are the responsibilities of students, all staff, and parents working collaboratively.
Orchard is a STEAM school. STEAM stands for science, technology, engineering, art, and math, and is an access point for guiding student inquiry, dialogue, and critical thinking. Orchard is a PBIS school. Our 3 school-wide goals are be safe, be respectful, and be responsible.
Orchard's school culture consists of 20% Hispanic, 4% Black, 65% white, 1% Asian, 1% Filipino, and 9% multi-ethnic students. Since we were unable to take the CASP test last year, we are focused on the fall reading data from the Diagnostic Reading Assessment, or DRA, and STAR Renaissance Place testing. The next round of testing will be done in February, and we will analyze growth then. We have been working diligently with trying to close the learning gap for our first graders. During the fall math assessment, we reviewed ESGI scores in kindergarten, Seesaw scores in first grade, and STAR Renaissance Place testing for grades 2nd through 6th grade. The learning gap in math is evident in the 2nd, 5th, and 6th grades. One of our major goals is to reduce chronic absenteeism. We are working with families trying to fix the learning barriers to their children attending school. Orchard student suspensions are used as a last resort for a consequence for student behavior. We are using restorative justice practices to make amends for their choices. Orchard has a multi-tiered systems of support for students. Academic support focuses on implementing new technology programs and adapting our curriculum programs to virtual learning. Our next system of support is behavioral supports. Since we are a PBIS school, we have provided Tier 1 supports for all students through our school-wide reinforcement system. Our Tier 2 supports focuses on using check-in, check-out support one-on-one with students. The last system is for social emotional support. We adopted a new curriculum, Caring School Community, and we have a new referral process to refer students to our mental health clinicians.
The RTI program is designed to accelerate the progress of all students who are experiencing challenges attaining grade level standards. We have established clear entry and exit criteria to determine which students will receive RTI support. Kindergarten through 2nd grade offers compacted SIPS lessons, level learning intervention for guided reading, and words their way to reinforce decoding and vocabulary skills. Grades 3 through 6 work with triumphs and supplemental benchmark programs. A strong emphasis is placed on reading comprehension through discussion, writing, and questioning practices based on standards for each grade level. 5th and 6th graders who need math assistance work with math steps and selected online and teacher-created materials. In the current academic year, 61 students have received RTI support. 20 students have been exited from receiving services based on reading or math achievement. Thank you.
Mental health matters. The mental health clinician and school psychologist are available to help support students, families, and staff through individual counseling and check-in services, social emotional groups, consultation, and connection with community resources. Youth service counselors working closely with the mental health team are also available to provide individual and group services to students who are struggling with mental health concerns and other needs. Through our PBIS program, we are working to create a welcoming, consistent, and rewarding environment that encourages and reinforces positive behaviors and relationships among students and staff. With our Caring Schools community curriculum, we've begun to establish a culture with a common language and expectations that guide our school to think of ourselves and operate as a community, with a group goal of honoring and respecting ourselves and others.
Orchard's intervention for learning loss consists of a 3-prong approach. We have intervention groups that are coordinated by our RTI coordinator. Mrs. Pettibone also organized a one-on-one after-school tutoring program for our first grade students using district COVID funds to help close the learning gap. Our second prong was the opening of a learning hub to provide support for students who lost their home to the Vacaville fires, students who have internet issues, and students who are struggling with virtual learning at home. Our last intervention support is having our student re-engagement specialists work with me to reach out to families that have barriers to their learning.
I'm Corey Bronson, and here is a peek at our kindergarten special day class at Orchard Elementary. I teach a Zoom group each morning and recently welcomed back a group of kids to in-person learning 4 afternoons a week. Each student has their own table that's distanced from their friends, and we wear our masks throughout class. These students arrive happy to learn every day. We couldn't do it without their parents' involvement and partnership. We're working together to learn and keep each other safe.
Ms. Armstrong is a special education teacher who is using the hybrid model of an AM and a PM session. Her students are really excited to be at school. It's great to see their smiling faces. The rest of our teachers are teaching virtually right now. Ms. Jaxie's class made corduroy puppets after reading the book Corduroy. Her students also counted 20 little snowflakes with reindeer.
Hi, everybody. This is Lola Kraft at Orchard Elementary School, and our third graders are enjoying doing many projects for their asynchronous learning in order to keep them coloring and cutting and being creative with their hands and their minds. We have so enjoyed using the virtual science and social studies lessons provided with the added art components that have been coming in. This is a wonderful, wonderful group of students who are showing remarkable creativity, as you can see from these slides. Thank you very, very much.
Here is Mrs. Bryan connecting with her students by dressing up like Leif Erikson and having fun in a small group Zoom session. Mrs. Sosa's first grade class created a groundhog puppet.
Our service club, Mad Club, Making a Difference Club, does an incredible job with service projects in our community. Some of the service projects that have been done are cleaning up Pina Adobe, working at the Solano County Food Bank, and they put together toiletry kits for homeless youth every year.
Orchard has a lot of activities for students. Novel knowledge is a great way to read books with your friends and compete against other teams. Our yearly wax museum is a fun way to teach students about history.
Here are our spelling bee winners from last year: Logan, Max, and Karis. Another activity we have at Orchard is our fourth graders who participate in Pioneer Day. It's a wonderful day of sharing the experience of what life was like during the gold rush in California.
Orchard's First Responders Day is a yearly event that recognizes the service and dedication of our police officers, firemen, CHP officers, and other agencies that provide support. Orchard is very grateful to our first responders.
Orchard sponsored a Girls on the Run team this year. Girls on the Run is a life-changing program for 8 to 13-year-old girls that promotes girl empowerment by teaching life skills through lessons in running. We had a great time.
Hi, my name is Michelle McGelvery, and I get the honor of introducing to you our honoree from Orchard Elementary School, Landon Moore. Landon gets good grades in school, but he works hard to get those good grades. It doesn't always come easy for him, but he puts in the work. He is more than willing to give whatever it takes to make himself the best that he can be. He is also one of the team of students who raised over $2,000 for fire victims with the bake sale earlier in the school year. Landon is also extremely polite, respectful, humble, caring, and hardworking. He always has his camera on in Zoom, which we appreciate so that we can always see that he's engaged with his learning. He supports what others say in class by the words he chooses to speak, by complimenting others' ideas and thoughts. He is the kid that when you look up at your screen, he is nodding his head or giving a thumbs up without being asked. So he shows 100% engagement with his learning at all times. He uses target time like a pro. He comes prepared with questions and specific items that he would like to have help with. And then when target time is over, he sends a thank you email to let me know that he appreciates the help that I have given him. Isn't that the cutest thing ever? I know he loves baseball and the San Francisco Giants, and he also has a wonderful Harry Potter collection of Legos. Landon is the friend you want in your group. In the future, he will be the young man that you want your daughter to marry. We all appreciate Landon at Orchard Elementary School. Thank you, Landon, for being you.
Julie Mrazek is Orchard's Volunteer of the Year. She has been a fantastic volunteer at Orchard for over 8 years. She has volunteered in each of her son's classrooms, helping run learning centers, attending field trips, special art projects, and providing help with anything else the teachers needed. Julie has been our PTC president for the past 2 years. Before that, she was an active member of Orchard's PTC. She has helped with a variety of events such as setting up carnival booths, ice cream socials, silent auctions, class fundraisers, and recently coordinated our trunk or treat. Julie sets a strong example for her sons, Max, Alex, and Lucas, of service and kindness. Her sons are a part of our MAD Club. She is very supportive of her children's academics and works closely with the teachers. Julie has such a positive disposition and is always wearing a smile. Orchard is very lucky to have her.
I would like to introduce you to my class signing the song You've Got a Friend in Me on Zoom. Although we aren't able to be at school right now, we will always stay connected as friends.
You got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. When the road looks rough ahead and you're miles and miles from your nice warm bed, you just remember what your old past said. Boy, you got a friend in me. Yeah, you got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. You got trouble, and I got them too. There isn't anything that wouldn't do with you. We stick together, see it through, 'cause you got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. Some other folks might be a little bit smarter than I am, big and stronger too. Maybe, but none of them will ever love you the way I do. It's me and you, boy, and as the years go by, our friendship will never die. You're gonna see it's our destiny. You got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. You got a friend in me.
Thank you very much for listening to the presentation for Orchard Elementary. We are all very fortunate to be part of this wonderful community. I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Michael, your mic is off.
Yeah. Okay, does anybody have any questions for Ann?
I do, if that's okay.
Yeah, go.
Miss Ann, thank you very much for the presentation. That last thing was, the rest of the video was nice, but that last thing was the kicker. That was the icing on the cake. Absolutely
All about
perfect.
the kids.
All about the kids. You brought up that your math scores are hurting like in second, fifth, sixth.
Background noise. Sorry, JJ. Okay, sorry.
That's all right. So you're having some math issues in a couple grades and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
How are you trying to address that during this time? I mean, are you using any different tools or?
Doing a lot of target learning with certain students. So after the Zoom lesson, they have targeted learning time. So teachers will have kids come back. We're also doing intervention. We were doing reading intervention and we'll do math intervention. We're going to use some of our LCAP funds to be able to do one-on-one tutoring with students.
Well, good luck to you. That's got to be difficult with the distance learning, but I know you can do it. So thank you for what you're doing and you and your team.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions or comments for Ann? Okay, Ann, thank you very, very much.
Good job,
Great.
Ann. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have superintendent's comments and correspondence.
Good evening, and I think I can do this right. Okay. So you all see this, right? Did I
Yep.
do it this time, Michael? Okay.
Yep.
So I want to make a few quick comments before I go into the PowerPoint. First of all, I want to welcome, I believe there's some employees of the year watching our board meeting on the webinar tonight. I know there's some teachers of the year and classified staff of the year. And I just want to say, I'm glad you're here because our director of HR, Manolo Garcia, is going to do a fabulous presentation honoring all of you. And it's so much more fun when we get to see you in person. But congratulations on earning Teacher of the Year or Classified Employee of the Year at your site. And thank you for everything you do. At the last board meeting, a parent asked me a question about why Kairos is open. And I think my answer wasn't very clear, and I didn't mean to imply in my answer, I was talking about last spring, I did not mean to imply that Kairos was open against governor's orders or guidelines of the state. Kairos did open in October when Solano County was in the red. It was completely legitimate and with state guidelines. So I apologize. I think there was some misunderstanding that I somehow was implying they opened illegally or against orders. They did not. But I do want to say that comparing our school district, Kairos is really comparing apples to oranges. We're 12,500 students, 17 schools. Kairos is 500 students. We have about 1,300 employees. About half of them are teachers who have some of our teachers may have underlying health conditions or live with somebody with underlying conditions. So there are some legitimate concerns there. We've been working really closely with both our teachers union and SEIU pretty consistently for the past several months. They've been great about coming to the table. They've been reasonable when we have our conversations, when things change and conversations around reopening. But it is a very different and a little more complicated system than Kairos. So we will continue with this. And in fact, we did start to add classes. And I mentioned this at the last board meeting. We started to add classes when we were in the red, but they were special education classes. And once we went into purple, we could not. And when I talked about the California Department of Public Health at the last meeting, they made it very clear that you're not considered open unless you opened with one grade with all students at least. So we're still in the purple and we are prohibited from opening right now. But at the next board meeting in February, we will have a presentation of our safety plan and we'll continue the conversation. So now I would like to introduce some new management employees we recently hired, both in child nutrition, starting with Lauren Cron, child nutrition supervisor. She replaced Callie Austin, who left a little while ago, unfortunately left us. She was fabulous. She went on to another job, but we're really excited that we hired Lauren. And hopefully if Lauren is here tonight, she can say a few words. I'm going to start by sharing some information on Lauren and maybe then Ken can get Lauren's face on the screen. Oh, hi, Lauren. So I'm going to say a few words about you, and then I'd like you just to introduce yourself to the board. Lauren is coming back home to Vacaville, where she was raised. She left her hometown to pursue her bachelor's degree in nutrition and food science from California State University, Chico, where she would also go on to earn her master's degree in nutrition education and didactic program in dietetics. Did I say that right? In addition to the degree she has earned, she is also licensed as a registered dietitian nutritionist. During the interview process, Lauren explained that she was excited for the opportunity to work in the district, as she's come to realize after working with other agencies that schools are where her passion lies. And that's my favorite part, Lauren, about the interview. I'm just so excited that you have a passion for child nutrition in schools. We're excited to welcome Ms. Cron to our district and to have her apply her knowledge, skills, and passion in our amazing child nutrition department. Welcome, Lauren.
You're on mute, Lauren.
Lauren, you're on mute. Sorry. Unmute yourself, Lauren. Ken, is her speaker on? We're not hearing her.
I can't actually unmute people. I'm sorry about that.
Lauren, are you unmuted? We can't.
She is unmuted, but we can't hear her.
Oh. We don't know why?
We don't know why.
Okay, so Lauren, why don't you hang on there for a minute? Maybe we could figure out, or I don't know from which end, why the sound isn't working. Let me go on to Richie, and then maybe we can come back and hopefully hear Lauren's voice. So Richie Willem is our culinary manager. This is a new position. We're really excited about this. It's essentially a chef position as we're expanding our child nutrition because basically they're doing so well fiscally. Richie brings his culinary talents to our district after many years in the Bay Area restaurant industry. Richie has not only been an executive chef where he prepared delicious food, but also developed menus and managed the business side of operations. Professionally trained at Le Cordon Bleu, he is set to take our child nutrition department to the next level. He stated the following about leaving the private sector to work in schools. I want to impact the lives of others and help others become better at what they do. Teaching and training is where my strengths and passion are. We're excited to welcome Mr. Willem to our district so he can positively impact our child nutrition department with his expertise and passion. Welcome, Richie. So if you want to unmute, say a few words.
Oh, can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, great. Jane, great to see you again. And board, I just want to say thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. And I'm so excited to be a part of the Vacaville Unified family and excited to work with the team. And everyone's just been amazing so far. Absolutely great start.
Thank you, Richie. Lauren, were we able to get Lauren's voice back? No?
No,
Invite
she'll
her back
probably
next time. Next time, invite her back.
So Lauren, if maybe next time you can come back. It's nice to see your face though, and welcome. I'm not sure what's wrong with the sound. Do you want to call it? Do you know sign language? No, I'm just, so we can maybe touch base and maybe you can come back in February and say a few words if you're okay with that. And you could call in, that would be great. Thank you. Thanks, welcome you too, and congratulations. Now, I'd like to move on. Tech Fest is coming. This is Tech Fest 2.0. Our amazing technology coordinators have arranged another Tech Fest. Last August, we had 2 days of Tech Fest where we had numerous trainings that teachers could choose from. They obviously didn't have to go the full days. And we had so much positive feedback. Our amazing team has brought this. We had over 500 teachers attend Tech Fest in August. So now we're having one coming up very soon. And what the technology coordinators did, they actually created a website to make it really easy for teachers to sign up and register to attend. And I just wanted to take this time to acknowledge these technology coordinators. We now have 4 of them. We had 3 up until a few months ago, but we had a lot of feedback from teachers when we did a survey around COVID funds, and one of the highest areas they said they wanted more of was technology training and ideas so that they can be better at teaching virtually. So we now have 4 technology coordinators: Dawn Marsh, Andrew Highland, Aaron Stephen, and Cheryl Carter. Welcome, and thank you so much for the work you do continually every day, making our teachers better teachers. I think you're all aware of the TK and kindergarten backpack donations we received from First 5 Solano. They actually went out to several of our elementary schools and delivered backpacks with a lot of goodies in them for students. It was well received. I want to acknowledge Rayanne Quinata, our community, sorry, my screen is, okay, our community liaison and safety coordinator. Whenever we have any drive like this, Rayanne is just on the ready. She organizes it and get those backpacks out there. And I also want to thank board member Cecil Conley. Thank you for going out and helping with the backpacks at a couple of our sites. And lastly, I'm so excited to share with you that Markham is almost finished with construction. Almost finished, not quite, but it looks amazing right now. Principal Jose Bermudez now has his own office. For those of you that don't know, he was sharing an office with his assistant principal. For the longest time, they were squished in, but now they all have their own, they both have their own brand new office. That's the old administration building, which is now being converted into a library. So this is one of the last basically things on the list. They also have to work on the round, they call them the donuts, but the old donut classrooms and start refurbishing them. But all the new buildings are finished. Elaine was out there taking pictures and couldn't resist again looking at our state-of-the-art cafeteria, which many of you have already seen. The kitchen is amazing and it's the right size for all the students, but it also has all the equipment so that we can make better food, and we have been making better food. And in fact, when Elaine was there, she caught these 3 child nutrition workers making sushi for our students for lunch. And this is, of course, part of the initiative in child nutrition from our director in expanding the offerings for students, opening them up to different foods and, of course, healthy food. The multi-purpose room, the big, beautiful new multi-purpose room at Markham is perfect as a learning hub because students can socially distance and get access to the internet or get assistance in their work. And we're really looking forward to when the weather gets warm and students are there and that roll-up door on one side, we can just roll up the door and have the yard there. Students can eat inside or outside. And speaking of yards, I just have to remark this, to me, was like one of the most beautiful pictures because it just happened to be a stunningly beautiful day a few days ago when Elaine went out there to take pictures. But the yard's finished, the ground looks amazing. The play structures with the shade are all brand new. There's a kindergarten play structure that's completed, along with the separate kindergarten area with the fence. We need our children now to be there at our school. But all of the new buildings have been completed, which is great news. And I just want to really thank the voters and the taxpayers of Vacaville that made this possible. And I do have to say that we were able, I think, to work more rapidly because there weren't students on the campus. So that was one good thing that they were able to get in there and do a lot of work and not have to worry about moving students around and fences around. And lastly, these are the kindness rocks that are now at Markham that all the students decorated with messages. And speaking of kindness, it is Kindness Week and there is a kindness challenge. And I'm going to let our communications director talk about the kindness challenge. So Elaine Kahn, there you are. You ready?
Yes. Thank you, Superintendent Shamia, and good evening, Board President Kitsis and other board trustees. I just wanted to share a little bit about the Great Kindness Challenge. I'm going to share my screen real quick. You guys can see. Can you guys see that? Thumbs up if you can see it. Can you see that?
Yes, Elaine, we see it.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Okay, so a few weeks ago, Superintendent Tony Thurman basically told all the schools in California that he wants to see a kindness challenge throughout all of the districts in California in some sort of fashion, in some sort of way. He wanted our kids to really show kindness to themselves, kindness to their classmates, and kindness to the community. Because of everything that's going on in the world and everything that's just so uncertain, he wanted to make sure that we always go back to kindness. That's what I think we really did here at Vacaville Unified. And I just wanted to show a few photos of the different things that our kids were able to participate in this week. So there's 3 main parts of the kindness challenge. The first is the social emotional lessons during distance learning. The second is the spirit attire to show off student and staff kindness. And last but not least, an essay competition with a theme of kindness. So the first social emotional lesson that our students were able to participate in is saying thank you to all of our essential workers, the nurses, the doctors, the police officers, the firefighters, everybody that is really just keeping everybody going during all of this. They make all of these beautiful signs saying thank you. Teachers are included in this as well. And a lot of teachers screenshotted this to me and we were able to share them on social media. So many great photos of kids' drawings that were sent in. And we're also going to be sending those in to our police officers, our hospitals in the area to also show them some kindness as well. And it's not just for social media. Kindness is spread in so many different ways. So we will be sending those out as well. And the second one is the positive notes. So our students were challenged to write 10 positive notes to stick around their homes to show their families kindness. This is another social emotional lesson that our students were able to participate in. And also this one is the I am posters. A lot of our students participated in this as well. We actually had hundreds of submissions of these beautiful photos and pictures that our students were able to draw. And the I am poster is basically what they think of themselves, showing kindness to themselves. The next one is all of these photos are from Jepson Middle School. All of these students were able to say all of the nice things they think that they are, that I am nice, I'm strong, I'm beautiful, I'm smart, all of these great things about themselves. The second part of the kindness challenge is the spirit attire. So we had a different spirit attire for each week of the day. Monday is crazy for kindness, wear crazy hair, and our students really got into this. My favorite is the cherries on the little girl's head. She looks so cute and it was just so spirited and so creative. We also have Cindy Lou Who in there and a lot of bows, and Greg and Joanna at Fairmont in their outfits and crazy hair is just so much fun. They posted them on social media as well and shared them in their newsletter. So it was just a great effort with everybody involved in it. My other favorite photo in this is our custodian at Alamo. He is all the way to the right in the red wig. He really wanted to participate in this, and it's just so much fun to share those images on social media. The kids got a really good kick out of it, and so did the parents who really liked that photo as well. And Tuesday was Kindness Rocks, dressed like a rock star. These are just some of the submissions. Again, we had hundreds of them of all of these great photos of our kids participating in distance learning in really cute outfits just to make it a little bit more lively during distance learning. Wednesday was Team Kindness, wear your favorite sports uniform. This one was also super fun. Vacaville is just such a big sports town that everybody really just showed up in their favorite sports uniforms, and it was just so much fun. All of these screenshots of all of these kids just makes me so happy to see that they wanted to participate in this kindness challenge. There's also Anna from Jepson and her team in there. Greg and Joanna also participated, and a whole bunch of other teachers and students participated in this as well. This one probably had to be my favorite of all the ones that we picked. Powered by Kindness, dress as your favorite superhero. There's just so many fun outfits that a lot of our kiddos were able to participate in, and they're just super fun. This one's probably my absolute favorite. This little guy, his name is Andrew. He's a first grade student at Fairmont Charter, and he decided that his favorite superhero is Martin Luther King, and he dressed as him, mustache and all, for this Kindness Week challenge. And then the next thing, last but not least, is our kindness essay competition. We had different prompts for different age groups to participate in. The K through 3 had what would you want in a good friend? 4th through 5th had what is the kindest person you know, or who is the kindest person you know? 6th through 8th is how do you show kindness? And 9th through 12th is what power do you have to spread more kindness? We've had a lot of submissions already for this essay competition. We're actually going to be sending information to you, the board, to help us judge this as well. And the top winners of this competition are going to be receiving, as you mentioned, Jane, our new child nutrition chef, Richie Willem, really wants to help people, really wants to improve their craft. And they are going to be getting a private lesson with him to learn how to make a gourmet meal and eat it as well. definitely when COVID guidelines permit, but we're going to be doing this at one of the culinary arts classrooms. That way students are able to participate in this as well and have their own little kitchen area, and they can all help each other out and make these gourmet meals. I already started talking to Richie about it, and he's really excited to get this started. He's super excited to work with these kids on it. And yeah, so that is Kindness Week.
Thank you, Elaine. That was fabulous. That pretty much concludes my report, but I wanted to add one thing because I apologize. I meant to welcome Mr. Santiago Serrato to the team. Welcome, Santiago. Happy to have you here as a new board member. And that concludes Superintendent's report. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Now we'll move to board member comments and correspondence. Does anybody want to begin? Hearing silence, we can move on, but I just also want to reiterate what Jane said, a hearty welcome to Santiago Serrato. He was appointed on Tuesday night for the 7th position on our board, and we're glad to be fully staffed, and we're glad to have Santiago, so welcome. Okay, next we move over to student board representative reports. Well, hold on a second. Santiago, do you want to say anything?
Well, thank you for welcoming me onto the board. It's going to be a pleasure working with y'all and working for our kids here in Vacaville. Looking forward to roll up my sleeves and get to work with y'all.
Thank you, Santiago. Okay, student board representative reports. We're going to start with Francesco Cubol from Buckingham.
Good evening, everyone. It's good to be here to share my report tonight. To start off, I'll give a few updates on my last report. Our community continues to feel the loss of our fellow student Eric Kepford, but an outpouring of love and support continues to be given to his friends and family. Thanks to the kindness and generosity of our community, the funds that were donated greatly exceeded the goal that was set. We miss him very much, but Eric will continue to be an inspiration to his peers and his community. Buckingham's leadership class has gotten back into the groove of planning and hosting events virtually for the student body to enjoy. Last week, we had our first night social hour of the semester. The event was a success and the turnout was very encouraging. Students had a blast interacting with and playing games with each other thanks to our underclassmen enrichment committee. We are looking forward to hosting our second night social hour tomorrow as we continue to give students more opportunities to interact with their peers throughout the remainder of the school year. Throughout this week, leadership has been actively participating in the Collaborative Kindness Challenge this week. We asked each committee to choose an activity that spreads kindness and to answer a question that expands on our understanding of what it means to be kind. Each committee has been documenting their actions, and throughout this week, we have been posting a video every day on our BCCA Leadership Instagram page to show what we've been doing to show kindness. On Monday, our Publicity and Tech Committee displayed acts of kindness to themselves to show and share the importance of self-care, especially during this time of being distanced from one another. On Tuesday, Outreach painted and decorated rocks to give away and hopefully put a smile on someone's face. It sounds silly, but it was done to emphasize that sometimes even the smallest, most random acts can make someone's day. On Wednesday, we asked our sports experts, Coach Threets and Coach Curry, as well as our amazing choir teacher, Mrs. Gorey, to share a quick message with students about kindness and talk about how any and every gesture is meaningful, especially to teachers struggling to feel connected with their students this year. Building off of that, for today's video, underclassmen enrichment shared a video about their efforts to safely make an appearance on our campus to personally show appreciation for our teachers and their hard work. They also sent emails and thank you notes to our staff. We're looking forward to one last video tomorrow from virtual events to see what they have planned this week to show their participation in Collaborative Kindness Week. We're also planning to bring back the kindness challenges in March in order to remind students that kindness shouldn't just be a challenge to participate in, but something we should incorporate into our lifestyles. And lastly, with Black History Month coming up, we are very excited to see what our Black Student Union will have planned for our student body in order to honor and celebrate the lives of African Americans of the past, the present, and the future. That is all I had to share with you all this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Francesca. Next, we have the Vacaville High School student report from Akiko Morton.
I'm afraid that Akiko is not in the webinar, Mr. Kitses.
Okay, thank you. Then we'll move right on to the Wilsey Wood High School student report, Diana Liu.
Good evening, school board members. I hope you're all doing well. Wilsey Wood is steadily creating more amazing events to come with Black History Month just peeking around the corner. As we do each year, we plan on hanging our tarps depicting images of strong and influential Black leaders such as Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Obama, etc. This time around, we are creating new tarps with portraits of Kamala Harris, Harriet Tubman, Black Panthers, and Michelle Obama. Since our students aren't able to come onto campus to see these tarps, they will be displayed on the back of the bleachers facing the outwards of the campus so that passerbys will be able to see these phenomenal portraits. However, Black History Month deserves more than just portraits. It deserves the acknowledgement of Black figures that textbooks might not teach about. So we plan on holding a Black historical figure bingo on our social media, where students can be engaged and take the time to read about these important figures while having fun. During these times of division, we often forget to take the time to listen to one another and create a bridge of understanding. To combat this, there will be guest speakers to advocate and speak out on their experiences of inequity and racism. Unfortunately, Wood has so many plans for Black History Month to the point where I am unable to fit it within this report. However, if you would like, I could email you any questions that you may have. Wilsey Wood is not wasting a second of time. While planning for Black History Month, we are getting ahead of the game by getting ready for Women's History Month. The plan at the moment is promoting the Solano County Women's Meeting and showcasing amazing and influential women who fought for a change for the better on our social media platform. As time passes, we will add more to the agenda, but as right now, all of our attention is directed towards Black History Month. In the previous school board meeting, I talked about Wilsey Wood's Good News broadcast, and I'm happy to say that it has received phenomenal feedback from our students and staff. The broadcast is now being shown during classes, and people are turning in their own good news, whether it be colleges they may have been accepted to, new pets, personal progress, it could be anything. Although these times are tough, Wilsey Wood is tougher. It might not be seen on the surface, but everyone here is doing everything we can to uplift and care for one another. Ladies and gentlemen, school board members, fellow student board representatives, thank you for your time. I hope you all have an amazing evening.
Thank you, Diana. Appreciate it. Are there any bargaining unit representatives to speak? I believe not. So we will move to staff reports and presentations. The first one being distance learning analysis. And I must say, let me just say this again. For comments from the floor on items on the agenda, at the beginning of each agenda item, I will announce for those of you who wish to comment on this agenda item, please raise your hand at this time. After all requests are recorded, requests to speak will be closed for that item. So no afterwards, like, I really want to speak about that. You have to do that when we announce the item. No additional permissions to speak will be granted after the comments are closed. If there's a staff presentation, comments will come after the presentation. So at this point, is there anyone that wants to speak on the distance learning analysis update? If yes, raise your hand and it will be recorded. Do we see any, Teresa?
The mic's off, T.
Yeah, no, I do not see any, Mr. Kitsis.
Okay, so we will continue with the presentation.
Okay, good evening, President Kitsis. I'm Ed Santapadre, and I will be introducing this presentation, and Ryan Gallus, our Director of Secondary Education, and Allie Eads, our principal from Buckingham Charter High School, will be doing the main part of this. So really what we wanted to share with you Teresa, if you could kind of get that going. Good, perfect, thank you. If you go click to the next. Great, thank you. Okay, so really, we wanted to share with you some of the data that we've been looking at, both academic, attendance data, and then more importantly, all of the supports that we're putting in place. As you saw in Orchard, there are places in our system where students are having some learning loss, and we knew that. And you know, we've been really watching this and looking at the data. And so tonight we're going to present some of that, and you're going to see where it is, and you're going to hear some of the things we're looking to do to help fill that gap. So quick background. Out of last March, we went out of school, and really from March till the end of the school year, we called it emergency learning. And then, as Superintendent Shamia mentioned earlier, over the summer, our teachers did an amazing job of learning new skills, of redesigning lessons, of being prepared to do distance learning or virtual learning at the very first start of the school year. And I have to tell you, it has been exhausting. I've probably been in 150 Zoom classrooms through the year, and I am so impressed with our teachers and our students and their resilience, and just the effort that has gone into that has been really amazing. So when you see some of the data and you see there is some learning loss, I just know it could have been way worse had this not happened the way it happened. So lots of flexibility and support for students. A lot of you know, so some of our focus was we really wanted to make sure that all students were engaged, and that included Chromebooks everywhere, hotspots, checking in on students, going to their houses, administrators, re-engagement specialists, knocking on doors, helping children log on, and then creating the hubs for the students who hadn't been successful. As you saw with the Kindness Week, all of the schools are keeping their culture and their kindness and their activities going the best they can. Just a great attitude all the way around. So we're going to share some of the data and share some of the things that we're planning. And I will turn it over. If you click the next, it'll go to Ryan Gallus.
Hey everybody, my name is Ryan Gallus, Director of Elementary Education, and we're very excited to share this information with you. I wanted to start and reiterate what Ed said with a shout out to all of our students, teachers, parents, and administrators in very difficult circumstances. They've been making virtual learning happen. I have to say I probably would have lost money taking any bets that we'd be in virtual learning all year, but here we are, and I think under very difficult circumstances, all of those groups have made it happen. We're going to start with some happy news. Attendance is remarkably consistent from last year at this time to this year at this time, and we see some gains in 5th and 6th grade. But if you compare 1920 with 2021, you'll see that we're only 0.01% different from the previous year. So remarkably consistent from one year to the next. Next slide. And we made some changes to our assessments in elementary. We modified the delivery of our diagnostic reading assessment. And it's really the gold standard in our district showing reading progress. We also returned to the STAR reading and math assessment. And the cheering that you hear in the background is from teachers who love the STAR assessment. It's easier to give remotely, and it's also something that our teachers are very familiar with. We also made some changes to our report card and report card guidelines, keeping rigor intact and keeping the communication to our families, but making it a little bit easier to decipher and for our teachers to use. The DRA this year, we've given mostly in a remote format. One thing to note, it is time intensive. The scheduling and rescheduling and contact with our families outside of class time was very difficult. Why do we still use it? It's been the best way to assess progress for our readers, and it gives data for in-class interventions and to our response to intervention program. And we use it consistently, as the Orchard presentation showed, throughout all of our lower primary grades and with RTI. Next slide. And this is a year-over-year comparison, trimester 1 in 1920 and trimester 1 in 2021. We see that kinder actually showed an increase in students' expected level of proficiency. And this is in the kindergarten grade level. This is really where reading skills are built. So they're learning all their letters and sounds at this point in the school year. It does build in rigor and intensity throughout the year. First grade is really a critical grade level for reading development. Year over year from 2019, 2020 to this past year, we see a 26% decline in proficiency for our students. We do need them back in person. They will be a focus for instruction and intervention when we return. Can they catch up? Absolutely. Learning isn't always a linear progress, and we expect to see some big gains when we return to in-person. In second grade, we also see a similar number of students in proficiency, and the rigor of the DRA assessment is great in second grade, and it's really reflective of just not having the time for our reading assessments. Our current interventions, what are we doing about it? Every teacher has targeted support time built into their schedule. You heard that from the Orchard presentation to support struggling learners. RTI and intervention support is continuing, and we're also looking, especially with funding from the governor being announced recently, extended school day and extended school year opportunities. We're planning those currently. Next slide. So our third through sixth grade data points, STAR is our focus assessment here. It is a Renaissance Place product, and we've used it previously, and we assess our students in reading and math. We're using percentile rank as the measure of focus, and what STAR tells us is at or above the 40th percentile rank is the default benchmark to show grade level achievement. And this tells us by the STAR research that we get a lower false negative rate for students at risk and a higher probability that we'll be able to identify those who are seriously at risk. Next slide. These are our third grade reading and math scores. This is the first year that they've taken this assessment, so you're not going to see a comparison. And it's showing approximately 62% of our students at grade level for reading proficiency using that 40th percentile rank benchmark, and 69% above the 40th percentile rank in math. Next slide. Fourth through sixth grade reading, we see some trends here. These cohorts are not as proficient as when they took it back in 2018-19. So this data is interesting because we see our current students in fourth grade and their proficiency when they took it as second graders in 2018 and 19. So we see that change over time in proficiency. Some factors with this data that we have to call out. Students were tested at home. It's a different learning environment that they've been exposed to. And we also have some questions about student motivation to want to do well on this assessment since they don't have the direct contact with their teachers. So what are we doing about it? Our current interventions, as Anne mentioned in her presentation, we do have targeted learning support time built into every teacher's schedule. We have an online reading support program, Lexia, that supports student skill development, whether they're advanced, on grade level or below grade level. And we also have data that's pulled from that program that teachers can use to pull small groups. It also gives them some instructional recommendations. This is also something that we are sharing with our teachers. All the data side of the house with Lexia is going to be shared at the upcoming Tech Fest. And we're also supporting continued use of guided reading and reading skill development. Next slide. Fourth through sixth grade math, we see some similar trends to what we see in reading. It almost exactly matches up with kind of the decline from their previous achievement level 2 years ago. And so what are we doing in math? Again, we have targeted support time built in. We also have online support through Dreambox, which supports student skill development, again, whether they're below grade level or advanced. And we're also diving into resources for math intervention to potentially use for extended school day and extended school year opportunities. Next slide. And so here's some of our next steps for elementary, and these are ideas that we are looking at. Continuing before and after school interventions, utilizing Super Saturdays for enrichment opportunities, building a robust summer program that can blend intervention and enrichment, really engaging our school communities, continuing to track data and identify students who are struggling, both academically and social emotionally. Continue technology integration. With all of the things that we've done with technology, we can't step back from this. We want to continue to support technology use at a high level and also support our students social emotionally. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ali Eads, who will give the secondary presentation.
Good evening, Board President Kitsis, board members, Superintendent Shumia. Thank you for letting me present and share some of these secondary data. I have a slide here that kind of takes you through what these secondary metrics mean and their significance. But the first piece is the attendance data. This, how frequently students are attending. This is a good metric to tell you how engaged students are in school. And then we have some broader metrics, that give you a broader overview of how the school is doing. For example, percent of number of Fs, the percent of As, your average GPA. And then we have other metrics like the percent of students with 1 or more F. That gives you more individualized data. That gives you a list of students that's not doing well. So the percent of students with 1 or more F, for example, or a GPA below 2%, or for us, the credit completion, because they need 220 credits to graduate. If they're credit deficient, that's going to be an impact. So those are all more specific data that we use to analyze how students are doing. Next slide, please. So here's the data in and of itself. Before I get into the data, I wanted to do a quick note. When we first pulled this data, it was, the grades were posted and we grabbed the data. Since then, there has been, oh, sorry, this is the attendance data. I apologize. This is actually really great data to look at. It's a good trend for us. Attendance is very important. When you look at reports on education, they say that the most fundamental element for student success is students consistently coming to school. And what we've seen this year is students are engaging. And that means that we'll have fewer students who are below grade level over time. So that's what we're looking at here. Overall, again, green is good. We're seeing a lot of increase in engagement. So we're very excited about that. And I think partly that's due to some of the interventions that I'm going to talk about in a minute. So that's the attendance data. It's really, really good news for us because the more students are engaged, the less likely they are to be below grade level later on in their career, and also less likely to drop out of high school. So this is really good data to take a look at across the board. Very nice. Go ahead, next slide. So this is what I was talking about earlier. When we pulled the grade data, we did it right after it was posted. But since then, there have been some updates to it. There's been some grade changes and there's fixing of errors. So it paints a slightly less disheartening picture. So for example, at Vaca High, they had approximately 36 fewer Fs. Again, that's not going to change the broad numbers for the district statistically, but it is significantly better news for those students. So what are we seeing? What are we seeing with this data? We are seeing learning loss, just like you saw in the elementary. That with this, there is learning loss. We see increased numbers of Fs, decreased GPA. We're seeing credit deficiency. And on the flip side, though, interestingly, you'll notice at most grade levels, we're seeing more As. So that tells you something interesting. It tells you that the students who were doing well before are continuing to do well. And that gives us good data for what type of interventions we need to put in place. So in addition to all of this, it can look very discouraging, but I'm going to share some of the things that we've done during this time and some of the things we plan to do that I think will alleviate some of this learning loss mitigation. Next slide, please. So to misquote the comment saying, unprecedented times calls for unprecedented measures. So what we're seeing now, what our staff has been doing since the pandemic closed our schools physically in March, is just an unprecedented level of adaptability and flexibility. You saw with the Tech Fest that's coming up, the Tech Fest we did in the fall, our teachers have embraced technology without reservation. Everywhere you see, everyone's experts in Zoom. We're adopting for at the high school level, Google Classroom. There's really no hesitation about adopting these new models of instruction, and they have just jumped in wholeheartedly and have been really, really great. They're reconfiguring curriculum to reflect the most essential standards. As teachers, we like to teach all of the things we love to teach, but we know that's not the time for that. So we're teaching what's most important. And it's just a willingness to be flexible about grading and due dates. There's not many good things that have come out of this pandemic, but the fact that as educators, we're learning to be more flexible, that is a very good thing. We're also seeing an unprecedented level of collaboration with our staff. Teachers and other school sites are working throughout the summer, we work throughout the fall, we're continuing to work throughout the spring and next summer to make sure that we are meeting the needs of our students. Our RTI coordinators and intervention teams have worked with staff to support all of our learners. We know that targeted supports are the key to mitigating this learning loss, and that is what we're spending all of our time developing. And then I can't stress enough how amazing the work and time and patience of our staff has demonstrated since the pandemic has started. For all of our teachers and staff that are watching tonight, please know that we see all the work you do and we thank you for it. Next slide, please. So what does some of that look like? I shared with you that attendance data that actually looks really, really encouraging. One of the reasons that's happening is because of the high engagement strategies that our staff and our schools are using right now. So we're seeing engagement in the classroom. In addition to embracing the technology, they are introducing a plethora of apps, programs within their instruction to make it more interesting. Here we have Pear Deck, Edpuzzle, Formatives, Go Formative, Screencastify, all of these are really amazing. This first picture I have on the screen there for you, this really just shows what teachers are going through right now. This is Sarah Bannon, an 8th grade science teacher at Sierra Vista, and she's using Amplify Online to teach her students. So you'll see she has 3 screens up so she can monitor student engagement and progress. Oh, not my office, sorry. Go Guardian. She's on the second screen, she can see all their faces on Zoom, and on the third screen, she's using that to teach the curriculum. So this is both an extraordinary example of teaching and an ordinary occurrence of what's occurring in our classrooms across our district. So that's pretty amazing. And we're also seeing at the school site level ways that we can engage our school community and encourage our students. So every school's program is just a little bit different. We have Student of the Week. If you can hit the next slide, I can show you a couple of pictures of them. Go ahead again. I just have a couple of pictures to cycle through. We have Students of the Weeks, we have Honor Roll and Dean's List, we have Perfect Attendance and Perfect Participation. You have the kind of keep cycling through there, sorry, Teresa. All of these great programs at all of the great schools to bring recognition to the amazing work that our students are doing. The last slide I thanked our teachers and our staff for all the things that you're doing. I want to take a moment to thank our students and our parents for keeping and staying engaged and working every day. You are doing amazing things, and we so appreciate that. So these are some of the engagement things that we're doing. Go ahead and go to the next slide. I just shared with you some of the data. This is going to be key. If we're going to mitigate the learning loss, we have to know where it is. So our intervention teams at every school site are meeting regularly, weekly, bi-weekly. We're looking at the data. We're taking that data, that the students with Fs, the GPA below 2%, the credit deficiency. We get lists of students that fit this, that are in this category, and we get them to actual interventions. Our district and our site administrators collaborate multiple times a month to, again, discuss this data and come up with any and all support options. And some of those support options are this. We have in-person support options. So we do have small group learning hubs for struggling learners at all of our secondary sites. We do have small group options for specialized classes, in particular our CTE classes, where hands-on activities are sort of key to that learning. We're doing, as I talked about earlier, lots of home visits, weekly in-person check-ins with students to make sure to find out if they aren't engaging, why is it? Is it technology? We get you technology. Is it encouragement? What is it we need? Our re-engagement specialists that we've hired have been amazing and so helpful in that way. So these are great in-person supports that we have. We also have lots and lots of virtual supports, weekly check-ins via Zoom and via phone, daily afternoon academic support via teachers' office hours. That happens across the board in the secondary schools. Learning support personnel are pushing in during synchronous and asynchronous time to support students individually. And if you want to know the structure of our periods, usually the instruction goes the first 45 minutes of class, and the second 45 minutes can be asynchronous. Most of our teachers, though, are keeping the students on the whole 90 minutes to make sure that they're getting that learning. So these are just this is just a few of the supports that we have kind of across our secondary sites. Next slide, please. So this is what we have been doing. This is what we're continuing to do now, but what are some of our next steps? I mentioned those meetings where we're collaborating and figuring out what we can do next. So here's some of the ideas for middle school. We have the Summer Bridge program for the Avid Excel, that's our English language learners, and incoming at-risk 7th graders that they're considering. A credit recovery class for 7th graders who have failed classes. Again, 7th graders don't get credit, so that's why it's in quotation marks, but it's addressing that learning loss at the 7th grade level. 7th and 8th grade orientation nights, Avid family night kickoff, August enrichment summer events, lots and lots of things planned for the spring and the summer in order to mitigate this learning loss that we're seeing. Next slide, please. And at the high school level, what are we looking at? So credit recovery elective, again, to make up for failed first semester courses, boot camps in the afternoon hours for 9th graders who failed English 9 or integrated math 1. So with those options, you see, we are not waiting till next fall to address learning loss. We are doing it right now. We're putting students right back into courses they failed. And if we need to, put them into summer programs so that when they start back in the fall, we've mitigated that learning loss. And then, again, like I said, lots more robust options for both an in-person and an online summer school, depending on this. So just in conclusion, I don't want you to be discouraged by the data that we're seeing. Yes, there is learning loss. Thankfully, the team that's entrusted to address the learning loss is the most capable and devoted group of educators, and we know how to do this. Thank you.
So, any questions?
Hi, this is Kelly.
Hi, Kelly.
Thank you for your presentation. It's very helpful. I am concerned about the F grades that are being given during this time. I'm just wondering if we have any flexibility around that. I feel like it's, I guess, unfair for students to be getting Fs when, you know, everything has just been turned upside down. And I'm wondering if we can, I don't know, maybe this is a bigger question, but if we can just discuss maybe alternatives to that. I see that we have different interventions and credit recovery and things like that. So I'd like to really focus on that, but to make sure that those who are struggling, you know, have options and maybe that they don't get lower grades than what they were before the pandemic, you know, happened. Or I don't know. I'm just thinking that right now students getting Fs is a really tough thing.
Right.
I don't know if anyone else has thoughts on that, but.
So Kelly, we've had this discussion when we started this last spring and had a discussion about whether we do give Fs or don't. And sort of the answer we came up with is we felt we had to do that to hold students accountable and to keep them in the hunt. Because if I know I'm going to pass, I might write checkout right now, and then there's really learning loss when I'm trying to do integrated 2 next year. But the teachers have been super flexible with the grading and taking late work. The other thing that one of those slides talked about, but maybe we didn't explain super well, was one of the things in that for the freshmen, the integrated 1 and English 9, what they're going to do is process called validation. So they're going to look at where they are, what skills they didn't get in that, and just redo those skills to get that grade up. So that F could go away then too. There really has been a lot of work, and we're worrying about the Fs. Now, in a regular year, as you saw on the other part of the slide, there's quite a few Fs that happen sort of regularly, and it's a little bit worse this year, and we know that. And so that's why we're looking at some of those validation things, some more flexibility and some more supports. But I think the discussion at the time, and we still believe this to be true, that if we don't have Fs, if a student just passes, I think you'll see that attendance rate and that participation rate maybe go down, because some students really are motivated by passing the class.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions?
Yeah,
Michael, do you mind? Oh, go ahead. No, Daniel, after you.
Sorry. You gotta start raising our own hands. But so start with Ryan. With the DRA assessments that we're doing, who's administrating those? Is it the teachers or is there an outside administration of those?
Yeah, so typically we have retired teachers who do the DRA assessments. That's a pretty vulnerable group with COVID. So they're mostly doing those virtually. We have actually seen a lot of teachers that want to give their own DRA assessments since they have a little bit more time and they want to see for themselves, you know, what does the learning picture look like for their students. We've seen a lot more teachers wanting to give the DRA to their own students this year, but mostly it's
allow that.
What's that?
Are we going to be allowing that?
Yes.
Okay, so that sometimes it'll be the teachers, because one of my bigger concerns was DRA didn't take into account the shy kids who don't talk well to people, even on video, that they don't know.
Yeah, it's
So
actually it's actually a preferred practice if we can get teachers to do that. But again, it is time intensive. If we were in a normal school setting, it would take 2 or 3 days for them to assess their entire class. They'd have to get substitutes. It's a little bit, you know, labor intensive in that way, which is why we have the retirees who've typically done it.
Now, is DRA going to be the sole assessment that we're going to do for this?
So we have a lot of assessment. I shared with you just the summary assessments, but we have you know, high frequency words. We have letters and sounds. We have a whole battery, BPST, a whole battery of assessments that we give our K1 kiddos.
Okay. So
and
it's not
secondary
going to be based fully on what DRA says.
Right.
I've talked to you in the past regarding my son in DRA, so you talked to my wife. But our biggest concern with DRA is the fact that it is so reliant on oral decoding. And there are a number of students who don't read the words right out loud, but they do understand it in their heads fully fine. And DRA was just sort of stopping the testing once they were unable to decode a certain number of words. And I would hate for the school to have to do more work trying to bring kids up to a level that they're already at, or even hold kids back down to a level that they shouldn't be at because they weren't able to decode properly.
Yeah.
So
and we also take into account reading group performance. Reading groups are still happening in virtual learning, and that's a real central measure of, you know, where kids are performing. We're also giving the STAR to students in 2nd grade as well. I didn't share any of that data, but starting in 2nd grade, students take the STAR.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And then one question regarding secondary. The online summer school, is that going to be done sort of like a distance learning type of thing, or is that going to be done like I did in college, online classes where it was me and the computer and talking to the teacher on occasion?
Certainly the second option, but we're definitely looking at models that has more of a model like the distance learning that you're seeing now, because there are students, as you saw from the percentage of A's going up, there are students who are really flourishing under this, and so we'd want to see if that holds true in the summer. So both options are on the table.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
Yes, please. Ryan, Allie, thank you very much for the presentation. And Allie, I think your point is well taken, that even though the secondary is showing the increased learning loss, there's no doubt you have the right team to be able to try to address that, right? That's a good thing. But here's my concerns is that I think the way to address it is to get them back into school. And I know we're under limitations of the governor and the color codes and all that, but I believe our board has to make it a priority to get them more secondary kids back into school as soon as we can. And that's, I think, would help with that more than anything else. I have faith in the team, don't get me wrong, but I'd rather get them back into class and go from there. So I would hope that we would continue to make that a priority when we're dealing with VTA to get more secondary students back in front of teachers when we can. But again, thank you to both for the presentation.
Absolutely, totally agree with you. I'm really lonely at school without my students, so definitely looking forward to having them back.
All right, anybody else? Okay, thank you so much for that presentation.
Thanks.
Now we're going to just break into the schedule here and give Akiko Morton an opportunity to talk about Vacaville High School as she has appeared on the screen. Okay, Akiko, you're on.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to apologize for my tardiness. But to begin my report, we are hosting a drive-in movie next week, February 5th and 6th. The Friday movie will be Black Panther, and Saturday movie will be Grown Ups, and our concession stands will be themed for Valentine's Day. To kick off Black History Month, VHS students will be reciting the poem Still I Rise, written by Maya Angelou, in a video that will be posted February 1st. It was short and sweet, but that was all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Hey, Akiko, I have one question. And that is that when you do the drive-in movie, and people come in their cars, and is there a way that you give people the message that they're supposed to only come with people that are in their bubble? You know, they're not supposed to come in with people from outside and just come as a group in the car?
Yes, when we advertise it, actually, we add a little note of how many people should be in the car and who it should be. And we also check for IDs or schedules.
Great. Thank you very much.
That's awesome.
Okay. Next, we have 17B, which is the homeschool plan update. Do we have anybody that wants to make any comments in the on the audience? Please raise your hand now if you want to speak about this. You see any, Teresa?
No, I do not see any speakers, Mr. Kitson.
Okay, thank you. So, okay, Ed and Ryan, I believe.
Yes, we are back. This is a lot shorter presentation. So, you know, we have talked about, there's been a whole different way of learning over this last year. And, you know, we just looked at some of the learning loss and the things we're going to do. And Mr. Jansen, we agree, we want to see our kids back on campus. But again, there are some students who are thriving, and as we go forward, some families are making choices about how they want to do school. Some like virtual, some have gone to a more traditional homeschool where the parent is the teacher. And so we want to be able to support all of those. And so this is the newest addition to our repertoire, and we're going to be supporting them very soon. So I'll turn it over to Ryan to just give you a few of the details. And Ryan, it's all yours.
Thanks, Ed. And this program is a reboot and a rebranding of what we previously had as the Vacaville Independent Study Program. And this was in place last year when Kimmy focused on 7th through 12th grade. And this became a home for 7 students who wanted a district-based independent study program. We're looking to roll this program out in trimester 3. We'll have online registration options as well as in-person paper packets. This is going to be an option for families not interested in returning to live instruction, and families that want district resources, but more influence on their child's learning. We're going to reach out to families the second week of February who left us for other homeschool programs. Next slide. And we want options for families in 2021-22. Homeschool and virtual learning will be 2 of these options. We want these programs to be under the same district umbrella when we return to live instruction. We'll have a virtual registration and enrollment throughout the spring. And for homeschool, we're looking at developing community-based partnerships to help support independent PE and enrichment. Next slide. So why would families consider homeschool? Well, flexibility, having support, personalizing the learning for their students. Using district curriculum is a nice option for families, especially if they're viewing this as a short-term thing for them. If they want to return to school the year after, they'll have continuity with the curriculum. And it's also, it gives parents options to extend learning in other avenues. So online courses or other ways that they want to infuse their child's learning. Next slide. These are the parent responsibilities, and really the biggest piece here is that parents take ownership of the learning. Some questions to ask for families. Can students work independently? Can they take responsibility for their own learning? Can both the parent and the student commit to weekly meetings with a teacher advisor? Do they have access to resources like computers, a place to learn? And then another key component, do parents have the time, energy, and skills to be their child's main teacher? Not all of us can do this for our own kids. Sometimes kids listen better to other adults than they do to us. But for parents who this is something that works for them, they have to, consider all of these factors. And with that, are there any questions about this program?
Yes, Ryan, I have a few questions. Is there a minimum commitment to this program? Does it have to be for a full year, a semester, when a parent decides they want to, or the parent decides they want to go to the homeschooling?
Yeah, parents can go in and out. We have short-term independent study that can be, anywhere from 5 to 20 days.
Oh, okay.
A longer term, but parents can go in and out. One of the reasons why we're putting this out this spring is this could potentially have an impact on staffing if there's a large demand for it. So we want to be able to staff it appropriately, but parents can come in and out.
Okay. Do they still have access? I know this is K through 6 to music, art, all those type of things that would be normally on campus. The child can still participate even though they're basically staying home.
Absolutely. Their school of residence would still be considered their home school. So if they wanted to attend events, they could. We actually had a couple 6th graders who wanted to participate in music, and the only time on campus other than their PLP meeting was to attend music at their home school.
Good. Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
One, more of a comment. Ryan, thanks for bringing up or the presentation, and thanks for recognizing that we lost some kids, right? Your previous presentation that both you and Allie gave, you showed our attendance rates and they were looking very well. But I think what everybody has to understand is although our attendance rates are doing good and even better in most areas, our numbers in school have gone down, right? So those two don't just go hand in hand. I'm glad everybody's going to school, but we have a lot less kids attending school. And I'm appreciative that we have this program to try to grab that, not just to grab the kids back, but to give the parents an option and still be part of our family at the district here. So thank you.
Yeah, John, thank you for saying that. And we plan to individually outreach to all of our families who left us for homeschool programs or other educational options, going over all the options that we're going to have available for next year. So returning to their homeschool is one, virtual learning would be another, and then the homeschool program is another.
Can I ask a question?
Go.
Hey, Shelley.
I have 2 questions. Part of homeschooling also often is that homeschoolers get together. Will we be facilitating that for those parents so that they can establish a community? Because I know that part of the thing about children going to school, as we have learned with this pandemic, is the social aspect. So as a way to get them that social interaction, as well as if they go to an ACES school where there's an after-school program, that may be a social aspect for those children. Would they still be able to go to that? So parents would school them during the day, but they could attend an ACES program if they're at an ACES school. Those are 2 questions.
Yeah, the ACES option would always be available. I'm not sure how popular that would be with a homeschool family, but that would be available to them. The other option, which are known in the homeschool community as workshops, it's basically a chance for families to come together and have a teacher give a lesson or support in reading or writing, or it could be enrichment. That's really dependent on the numbers to sustain that. I think we could, with teachers who'd be hired for the program, manage that and lead that, but we have to have a good amount of students through enrollment to support that.
I guess what I also mean is different homeschool communities do things like they all go to the library together, or they all go, so they are matched with each other so that they know of each other's existence and therefore can choose to do some activities together. So would we be helping them to weave that?
It sounds like a great challenge, Shelley, and I would love to initiate that. Previously, when we had the Vacaville Independent Study Program, we had 7 students. We had 3 second grade students and 4 6th grade students. It was not a strong cohort. So I think you're sharing.
I understand that. And the difference is because we've done COVID. I was just trying to advocate for those parents who might choose the homeschool, and because they've been doing it with their children or other parents, that we would be able to then help them facilitate that community feeling. So I think those are things for us to explore depending on the numbers.
Absolutely.
Anyone else? Ryan and Ed, do we have a count pretty much of, I mean, all school districts have lost enrollment with COVID. Do we have a count of how many we've lost versus last year?
Yes. I want to say it's at this point right around 400. And again, many of them went to a home school, so they registered themselves and they are doing this themselves, homeschool. And we want to, because of the things Shelley said and all the different resources, we want to reach out to them and say, even for this last trimester, if you want to continue with that, you can do that through us, and we can support with curriculum and other pieces. So there was a pretty good number of them who went to that. And then some to private schools and other places.
That's great. And I think public schools forte is usually not really marketing. And I think this is really a good way to give people the opportunity to say, yeah, well, we kind of like this homeschool, but we're going to get some support, which is great. And so do we have a projection or an estimate or a hope of, what percentage we'd like to get back of those 400? I mean, obviously we'd like to get them all, but what are we thinking about for planning for next year?
I was thinking for those 400, it'd be great to get about 450 of them back. So, we were before this pandemic on an ever increasing enrollment, and we've had a lot of people who've said to us, yeah, we can't do the virtual because we can't support the 2.5, 3 hours, and be there. So we're going to go away, but we will come back as soon as you're back in school. So we know there'll be a number of those. And then there are people who are just looking, now that there are a lot of options out there, they're just looking at different options, and we want to be the ones to support those and support them in those options.
Yes.
Thank you. We haven't staffed for next year yet, and that's going to be a challenge because we usually have this formula that's pretty easy to match up enrollment projections with teachers, and this is a whole different year. So we're starting to look at that right now.
Yeah, and I know one thing that a lot of people in the community don't necessarily know, but you guys give us the statistics sometimes, is that there are a lot more people that want to come here and get educated in our district that then want to go out and be in other districts. So we are a sought after district.
And that happened again even this year. Mm-hmm. There still was a large group of students coming in from other districts, more so than leaving.
Great. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, next we'll have the recognition of certificated and classified employees of the year. I will ask very briefly if anybody wants to comment on this, otherwise we'll go ahead. If you want to comment on it, please raise your hand now. Do we have any, Teresa?
No comments.
Okay. Chris and Manolo, you're on.
Good evening, President Kitsis, members of the board, and Superintendent Shimia. Waiting for our PowerPoint to come up. But this is the best time of the year for us. We get to recognize our outstanding teachers and classified staff. These employees have been nominated by their peers and selected at their school sites as the employees of the year. And then at the district level, we will recognize one of each of them as the district level employees of the year. So if we can get to the next slide and take it away, Manolo. Oh, no, this is me. Sorry. So our first one is from Alamo Elementary. This is Danielle Millward. One of her fellow staff members said Danielle is also gifted at making every single student feel how valuable they are as a person and as a part of the classroom community. Next slide.
All right, and I want to recognize the Alamo's Classified Employee of the Year. That's Christine Tuller, Secretary 1, and her principal, Mr. Wycliffe, says Christine has worked hard to create an office environment that is supportive of the needs of everyone. Congratulations, Christine.
And at Browns Valley Elementary, the Teacher of the Year is Shanna Myers. Her principal said Shanna is determined to help all students with their reading challenges. She is always helping others, from parents to colleagues, a true team player.
And Browns Valley's Classified Employee of the Year, congratulations to Annette Cook, their library tech. Mrs. Benavides, the Browns Valley principal, says not only is Annette super kind and welcoming, but she is always willing to go out of her way to help staff and students. She goes over and beyond what is expected of her every day. Congratulations, Annette.
We move on to Callison Elementary, where the site school teacher of the year is Brian Boardman. His principal, Jessica Reed, says Brian's a phenomenal human being who would give the shirt off his back if it meant a breakthrough for a student, staffer, parent, or community member. And look at that suit.
And Callison's Classified Employee of the Year is Joy Mina. Mrs. Reed, the Callison principal, says Joy Mina is an outstanding paraeducator who goes above and beyond her position to help our classroom. Joy goes beyond the school day to help prepare classroom materials and will even help deliver materials to students if they aren't able to pick up. Congratulations, Joy.
And now we go to Cooper Elementary, where the teacher of the year is Ralph Muhlenbrook. His principal, Latanya Cruthard, says Ralph's love and respect for his students is evident in the time he takes to create lessons and getting to know his students and building lasting relationships with families. Nice job, Ralph.
And Cooper's Classified Employee of the Year is Dave Cushing, their custodian. Latanya had this to say about Dave. Dave is a team player and has had the best school spirit. He goes about his job with both skill and pride. Congratulations, Dave.
And now Fairmont Charter Elementary School, where the teacher of the year is Lisa Allen Holdener. Fairmont's principal, Greg Moffat, says, Lisa's creativity and innovation is without comparison. She continually gives her time and ideas to help others learn and grow. Great job, Lisa.
And Fairmont's Classified Employee of the Year is Pam Makeley, their cafeteria manager. Greg had this to say about Pam. She makes things happen and she keeps on going. She's a true team player and will do whatever it takes to help feed kids and feed them good quality food. Congratulations, Pam.
And now Hemlock Elementary School, where their teacher of the year is their RTI coordinator, Nicole Bandy. Nicole is an advocate for students and teachers. She's a partner with parents and she's a leader of exemplary teaching practice, says Jennifer Austin, the principal. Great job, Nicole.
Hemlock's Classified Employee of the Year, Carrie Buchamp. Carrie exudes a love of literacy, a love of Hemlock and ACE, and a love of kids. She deserves the world and to be Classified Employee of the Year. Congratulations, Carrie.
Our next school is Markham Elementary, where Karen Sellers, the RTI coordinator, is their teacher of the year. Jose Bermudez says, Karen has helped us create a positive environment that is every child oriented and focuses on building positive self-esteem through high standards and a well-designed instruction. Nice job, Karen.
And Markham's Classified Employee of the Year is Marie Pate, Cafeteria Manager. Mr. Bermudez had this to say about Marie. She is so dedicated in ensuring all students have a meal regardless of their situation. During this time of school closure, she is so friendly to both students and the parents of our community. Congratulations, Marie.
We move on to Orchard Elementary, where the school site teacher of the year is Corey Bronson, special ed teacher. Ann Silva, Orchard principal, says Corey is a highly skilled teacher who always goes the extra mile for her students in special education. Her classroom is engaging, interactive, and most importantly, fun. Congratulations, Corey.
And Orchard's Classified Employee of the Year is Javier Orozco. Principal Silva had this to say about Javier. He epitomizes the service to others philosophy. His positive attitude and willingness to do whatever it takes to support the students and staff at Orchard is a testament to his kind and caring personality. Great job, Javier.
And next school is Payton Elementary, where the teacher of the year is Carly Waddell, our PE teacher. Principal Rada says, Carly is loved by all who cross her path. She has a way of empowering all who know her, and she encourages them to find their inner athlete. We're proud of you, Carly.
And Payton's Classified Employee of the Year is Maria Lourdes Cardenas, Student Monitor. A Payton staff member had this to say about Lourdes. She is always willing to go above and beyond to support our families. I really appreciate her ability to form relationships with families. The trust they have in her is imperative to the success of our students. I also want to recognize Lourdes. She has been selected as our district Classified Employee of the Year and will be going on to the countywide competition. So congratulations, Lourdes, and best of luck.
Great job. All right, moving on to Sierra Vista, where our school site teacher of the year is Kim Campbell. Sierra Vista staff member says, Kim never stops learning techniques, curriculum, or trying new roles. She holds new teachers accountable for putting idealistic vision to reality through hard work. I can't seem to have a conversation where I don't walk away with new ideas. Great job, Kim.
And Sierra Vista's pick for Classified Employee of the Year is Michelle Redline, Secretary 3. Principal Bozzini had this to say about Michelle. I've never worked with a more dedicated classified employee. In fact, many times I have to remind Michelle that she is off the clock because she will keep working until the job is done. Congratulations, Michelle.
Now we move on to Jepson Middle School, where the school teacher of the year is Carrie Tafuro. Anna Farina, the Jepson principal, says, Ms. Tafuro is engaging, transformative, and an educator that is out to make a difference in this world. Congratulations, Ms. Tafuro.
And Jepson's Classified Employee of the Year is actually two. Congratulations to Rosita Turner and Doreen Ovaid, both paraprofessionals. Doreen and Rosita both possess an endless collection of ways to help our students succeed in and outside the classroom. Doreen and Rosita are a cornerstone of the culture at Jepson. Congratulations.
Next, we have Vacapena Middle School, where our teacher of the year is Miss Leslie Fitz, Learning Support Coordinator. Colleen Moe, Vacapena principal, says, Miss Fitz jumps in to help solve any issue and works tirelessly and creatively to find a solution. If a student is having technical difficulty, call Miss Fitz. If a student is struggling with a math assignment, call Miss Fitz. If a student isn't passing science, bring in Miss Fitz to the rescue. Great job, Miss Fitz. We're proud of you.
And Vacapena's Classified Employee of the Year selection is Lily Palayo, paraprofessional. Ms. Moe had this to say about Lily. She is extremely supportive when it comes to supporting students in communication with our families. She is an expert at building home-school relationships, and our families appreciate that she is quick to respond and follow up when needed. Congratulations, Lily.
Next is Ernest Kimmy Charter Academy, where the teacher of the year is Miss Jordan Adcock, the counselor. One of the Kimmy staff members said her strategic leadership skills and innovative ideas have been an invaluable asset to our school and have contributed to our school community. She makes Kimmy an even better place to work. Congratulations.
And Kimmy's selection for Classified Employee of the Year is Karen Hamrick, a custodian. The Kimmy staff member said she knows what needs to be done and does it, even before we know there's an issue. Our site is spotless, regularly repaired, and well organized. Karen always has a positive attitude and an excellent work ethic. Congratulations, Karen.
Next, we're going to go to Kimmy Rapp, where the teacher of the year is Miss Kathy Uline, special education teacher. Amy Blackstone, the principal, says, when an issue arises, Kate comes to the table with possible solutions and helps to resolve the problem, not waiting for someone else to just do it. Nice job, Kathy.
And Kimmy Rapp's selection for Site Classified Employee of the Year is 2 classified employees. Congratulations to Debbie Lukehart and Joyce O'Grady, both secretaries at Kimmy Rapp. Debbie and Joyce take amazing care of everyone on site. They work well with parents, helping them feel at ease when they call or come in. They have worked together to establish systems to help streamline processes to ensure nothing gets missed. Congratulations, Debbie and Joyce.
Our next school is Buckingham Collegiate Charter Academy, where the teacher of the year is Miss Gina Hayes. Buckingham staff member says, Gina demonstrates a deep excellence and commitment to every student she teaches. She often offers extra hours to students who are struggling. Gina gathers extra information from her students so she can help every student to succeed. Great job, Gina.
And Buckingham's choice for Classified Employee of the Year is Denise Anderson, paraprofessional. Principal Eads said this about Denise: not only is she a caring educator, but also a surrogate mother and much appreciated taskmaster who keeps our students on the path to success. Denise truly cares for the health and success of our students. Congratulations, Denise.
Next, we move on to Vacaville High School, where the teacher of the year is Miss Megan Omond. Adam White, the Vacaville principal, says, Miss Omond has been a pillar of the VHS math department for now 10 years and still approaches the job with incredible passion and work ethic, constantly refining lessons, providing personally created curricular resources, reviewing packets, and making answer keys to make difficult concepts more accessible to all learners. Great job, Megan.
And Vaca High's Classified Employee of the Year is Laura Berggren, paraprofessional. Principal White says Laura's expertise, professionalism, dedication, and commitment to all stakeholders is exceptional. She is a leader among her peers and a vital resource on our campus. Congratulations, Laura.
We move on to Wilsey Wood High School, where their site teacher of the year is Miss Laura Roberts. Adam Rich had this to say: Mrs. Roberts embodies the notion of a professional educator, always striving to do better, learn more, and improve the world around her through the work of teaching. And I'm proud tonight to announce that Miss Roberts is also the Vacaville Unified District Teacher of the Year. Congratulations.
And Wilsey Wood's selection for Classified Employee of the Year at their site is Sandra Kinney, paraprofessional. Mr. Rich said this about Sandra: she is always has a great attitude and is helpful to all, no matter what the task. Sandra quickly builds strong relationships with students and will go above and beyond to help them to be successful in their classes. Congratulations, Sandra.
Now we go to the Adult Education Center, where the site teacher of the year is Mr. Andrew Clark. Tiffany Donahue, adult ed principal, says, since Andrew joined our team, we've seen an increase in our students' learning, gains, and self-esteem. Congratulations, Andrew.
And our adult education program's Classified Employee of the Year is Lori Kelly, school district accountant. Principal Donahue had this to say about Lori: Lori goes well over the call of duty when it comes down to making sure our finances are well kept and thorough. Her dedication to our school is one that should be spotlighted. Congratulations, Lori.
And congratulations to everybody tonight. I know this has been a tough year for a lot of us, but you are the people that are making this school district work, and we're so very proud of all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris and Manolo. Really appreciate it.
Our pleasure.
Thank
Can we
you.
just get a virtual applause for all these amazing employees we have? It's so hard not seeing them in person. Chris and Manolo, you really honored them, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris and Manolo, for the classic taglines after each announcement. That was great. Okay, now we have 17D, Facilities and Maintenance Update with Dan Balowitz.
Good evening, President Kitsis, Board, and Superintendent Shamiya. I'm going to give you a quick update on some things going around in the Facilities Department. So we'll start with me sharing my screen right there. Okay, so this Facilities Update, we're going to start with the Hemlock ACE Elementary Improvements Project. This is a Phase 2 project with Measure A that has a total budget of $3,200,000. The scope of the project, the main pieces is a new shade structure outside the multipurpose room, classroom technology package and classrooms. We're going to be relocating some portables for the ACE program, increase the classroom count for ACE from 5 to 8, add a restroom building, and then a bunch of site work around the new location that we're going to propose tonight for the ACE program to make it kind of a little campus in a campus. So you can see here on this drawing, the box up at the top with the slash through it, that's the current location of some of the portables that they use now for ACE classrooms. They use 4 portables in that location. They use 1 classroom, which is a kinder room. After meeting with the site committee and going through some analysis of can we reposition those portables in that location, the site committee asked if we could look at moving these portables down to near Hemlock Street towards the front of the campus. And as it turns out, that is not only a good solution for them, but it's also a more economical solution for the project. If you can see my cursor, the 2 things that make it more expensive to relocate them in their current location, one being the path of travel that would be mandatory. The path of travel from the parking lot all the way back to those, we would have to replace all those walkways from that parking lot to those to bring the path of travel up to code. In addition, to get the utilities back there to add more portables, the electrical, the water, and the sewer, we'd have to run all the way from the front of the campus all the way towards that backside. So it's a long run and be a lot more expensive. What we're planning to do and what we're proposing to do is we have all the blue big boxes there. Those are portables. If you remember from Markham, we saved the best portables from the Markham site, and we picked them up and we moved them to our Elmira site to store them there. We are going to pick those up and bring them to Hemlock. The project would start by doing all the site work to get the pads ready, and then we would bring in those portables. You see here, there's the 7 blue portables that we would bring in from the Elmira site. We could do all this without disrupting their school. There would no need for interim housing. We wouldn't have to be rushed to get this done over a summer in 2 months. They could stay in the rooms that they are in while we're doing this work. We'll completely surround the area with fencing and make it a construction site to make it safe for the students. But we can do all this work while school is in session. So we bring 7 portables from Elmira. You see that gray box that's on the top side. That one is actually one of the existing portables that we will bring from their existing location. So we would do all this work, get it all completed, and then move the students into that, and then we would bring in the other one. The other portables that would be emptied would be demolished and moved off the site because those are much older and it's not as good shape as the ones that we're bringing in. We're also going to be bringing in a portable restroom building to add a restroom to the area. The two triangles there are our sail shade structure. We'll be doing a lot of work to create a quad area in the middle, along with some pathway and some additional fencing. We also have, you can see in this location, in this area here outside the MP room is where the new shade structure would go for the rest of the campus as well. Like I said, 7 of those 8 portables will be brought in from storage at the Elmira site. They will be brought in and they'll be completely refurbished. We'll start with the site work and then refurbish those once they're there. And then ACE moved in, we'll bring in the last portable, as I said earlier. The pros and cons of this, the site committee requested this location closer to Hemlock Street. And it is for the low of students coming and going. It is the most cost effective, like I said. We won't have to do the extensive path of travel work. The utilities are going through that area from the street anyway, so it's a really short run. And there'll be no need for interim housing to finish this project. One of the cons is there are 3 softball fields that are on the Hemlock campus. This would take up one of them. And even if we left it in the existing location, we'd be removing one of the softball fields anyway. So this one is the main softball field. So we'll be doing work at the 2 smaller ones to make one of those 2 smaller ones the main softball field as well. The field is used by the site during the day. And then the community does use it after hours on the weekends, but they'll still have the other 2 softball fields to use. Any questions about Hemlock ACE improvements?
Any questions, anybody?
Okay, I'll move on.
Thank you, Dan.
The 100 McClellan Street improvements, what I'm going to be presenting to you is the phasing plan. Starting this summer 21, we're going to be working on the parking lot. We're going to be doing the renovations to the new, we'll also be doing the pad and building the new classrooms in the multi-purpose room, doing the foundations there. The new quad area and site work on the campus itself. We'll be doing the improvements to the classroom buildings A, B, and C, which were the original elementary school classrooms, and also improvements to building D, which used to be the original elementary school front office. In the fall of 21 to spring of 2022 is when we'll be bringing in the new classrooms and building the new multi-purpose room. And then in the summer of 2022, we'll be renovating buildings E through H, J, M, and P. And then we'll also be working on the path of travel around buildings A and D because the slopes on those walkways are really bad and they're nowhere close to ADA compliant. So we've decided to do the phasing in this manner that we would have the classrooms done first, and then we'd come in the following summer and tackle those walkways. So this may be a little small on your screens, but you see all the green is what we're doing this summer. And the parking lot being the main portion of it, we're going to reconfigure what's currently there into this new design. We are working with the city because there are some city, the Georgie Duke Center is there. So we've informed the city of what's going on. We're also working with the museum who has a portion of that parking lot to let them know what our schedule is and what we're going to be doing. But we're going to be doing a lot of work on this site, and depending on how things go, if we have students back on campus, and then this work will start in later May. But if we don't have students back, and then we are planning to start the work early. So we are we're creating 2 plans of time to figure out, depending on what happens in the near future, when we can start. So the earlier we can start, the better off it is. Any questions on McClellan Street? Okay. And some other quick updates. Markham Elementary, Superintendent Shamiya showed you some great pictures. I am really happy with that site, and it's exciting to see. If you haven't driven by lately, there's been a lot of changes, especially to the site areas. We have the new administration building, which was the old MP room, that's done, and they're moved in. We're working on the new library, which was the old admin building. But the basketball courts that were designed to be able to be used by the community after hours and on the weekends, those are in. The site work has been done. The new parking lot to the MP room and delivery area for the new MP room has been completed. The kinder play area is done. I mean, all those pictures that she showed, that's what the exciting part is for us. So after that library is completed, we're working on finalizing the scope and getting out to bid the round buildings, the old existing classrooms, to add the technology package and renovate those rooms. We also have one of those rooms was the library that we're going to move everything out of there when the library, the new one is completed, and we'll convert that back into a classroom. The Vacaville High new gym is, the drawings have been submitted to the Division of State Architects. So right now we're just working on some site plans, and as we wait for those drawings to come back, and we're working on scheduling and getting that project out to bid. One of the things that we're working on now is working with the principal to add a fundraiser brick area that they brought up, and we're going to incorporate that in, whether it be a wall that we have bricks that people can buy, or walkway, or a combination of both. We're working on that, so it's kind of exciting. The Vacaville High School improvements, we've kind of finalized the scope, so now we're in the phase of drawings, and all these things will be brought to the board in the near future at a future meeting. The Wilsey Wood High Theater improvements, we're working on alternatives for extending the stage. The stage has been painted. The walls on the stage area have been painted already. And we're out to bid for the new lighting package and the new sound package. So we're moving ahead on that. The 621 Orchard Avenue project, we are in the design phase of drawings right now. We're working into the construction documents now. And now that we have what we're going to do locked up, we're moving forward with that. And one other thing, in the Orchard Elementary backup generator, every time that PG&E has had a PSPS in the past, Orchard has, that area goes down, and it was for 3 days in the last one. So we've purchased a generator, and we set up the panel that if a PSPS comes in the future, that we will, the maintenance department will take over the generator, hook it up, flip the switch, and we'll be able to run that school from that generator without, until PG&E comes back on. So any further electric disruptions, we are now ready to take care of that and not have any disruptions to the school site. And that's my update. Any questions?
Dan, I did want to ask one question. When I learned about the practice gym at Vacaville High School, I was excited. Then I asked the question of, would we be able to connect the 2 gyms together? And I found out we couldn't, because the old gym is not up to code, and that the fact that it's not up to code means we can't renovate the locker rooms or do much to it. Is there a time frame when we can possibly look at the main gym being?
Yeah, absolutely. But Cecil, it's not about the gym not being up to code. That building is up to DSA standards. Okay. But also DSA standards don't allow newer buildings to be attached to older buildings. Okay. Because of earthquakes and that type of thing. We have to keep them separated. So that is a consideration. So we've designed this to where there's walkways that are covered walkways and paths, so they can go from one gym to the other. In the case of weather, that they're not walking out into the weather. They don't have to come, for example, from the front of one to the front of the other. So we've taken that in consideration. We've got this building as close to the new building as possible. So, you know, that was kind of the design that we have gone with.
And there will be some seating in the practice gym, if I'm not mistaken, Dan, you said?
Yeah, there will be some seating in there. We're also putting in a really big, nice projector and screen so they can use it for other purposes other than just a practice gym. So, you know, it won't hold the entire student body at that school because it's just it's a big school. But we do have bleachers that, and they're actually going to be set up to, they'll have different functions. They can come all the way out for a learning environment, but they can, or if it's a basketball game or a tournament or a badminton tournament or something like that, then they can come halfway out. They can still seat, you know, viewers and parents, but without taking up the space of the floor that's going to interfere with anything that's going on.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Anybody else?
Great job, Dan. There's a lot going on. Good job.
Yeah, it's fun.
All
Thank you,
right.
everyone.
Before we hit the action items, we're going to take a 5-minute break. And please come back in 5 minutes and we'll continue the meeting. Thanks. All right, we're back. Let's do it. Got to go to bed soon. Okay, we're going to look at 18A, acceptance of district financial audit reports ending June 30th, 2020. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to comment about this? If yes, please raise your hand. Okay, I think we're not seeing any. So, okay, Kelly and Jesse.
Alrighty, good evening, everyone. My name is Jesse Deal from James Martin Company. I'm going to give you a brief overview of the district financial audit results, and then I'll move on to the Measure A financial, just the financial results. Can everybody see the screen and hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So, as you know, the audit is a process of accountability to the board and the public. And the biggest thing you guys want to focus in on is our opinion, which you can find on page 2. We issued an unmodified opinion, which means the financial statements were fairly stated as of June 30th, 2020. Following the audit opinion is the management discussion analysis. You can find that on pages 4 through 12, and that basically is a Cliff Note version. It provides the financial highlights and important trends and any issues the district is facing. So I encourage you to read the MD&A, and then I pulled out a couple of items to go over with you. The first is the summary statement of net position. This is the balance sheet, if you will. Focusing on the total assets, you'll see that the total assets increased by 83.9 million dollars. And a lot of that had to do with the increase in cash and accounts receivable. And basically what happened was we issued some new debt. Money was deposited in cash, and then we spent some of that because of the capital projects. And so all in all, you had an increase of about $53 million in the current assets, and then you had the almost 6 million in capital assets net of depreciation. And then focusing on the deferred outflows, we had a slight increase of about 2.2 million, and that just has to do with the net OPEB and pension liability. They're just coming straight from the actuarial valuations. Focusing on the total liabilities, as I mentioned earlier, we did issue a new bond series, and so with the new issuance and then minus the pay down, you had a net increase of total liabilities of about $64.45 million, and almost 59 million of that was with the long-term liabilities. And then focusing on the deferred inflows of resources, we did see an increase here. Again, this is from the actual evaluations for the net OPEB and pension liabilities. So we took it straight from the valuations and put it on your financial statements. You want to focus at the bottom. We ended up with a total net position of 33,137,131. That is an increase of $8.2 million from the year prior. So that is good news. Your net position, your financial position is strengthening. How we got there, this is a summary statement of activities, the income statement, if you will. And you'll see that your total revenues had a slight increase, 0.6%, so 1,062,661. And a lot of that, 50% of that is from federal and state aid. Focusing at the bottom there, total expenses, you'll see that we ended up with almost $159 million in expenses. That's an increase from the year prior. And you'll see that majority of that, those expenses are coming from instruction-related services and pupil services. This is what you typically expect from a district of your size. And then that's how we arrived at the $8.2 million change in that position. So it is a increase in that position, but not as high as the year prior. Now focusing on the general fund revenues, you'll notice that a lot of your revenues are coming from LCFF sources. That's 106.3 million. And then focusing on the general fund expenditures, you'll see a majority of your expenditures are wrapped up in salaries and benefits, which is what you see with a typical size, year size of a district. I'm not going to go too much into the economic outlook. I know Kelly has talked about this a lot over the last few board meetings. I did want to emphasize the bottom. You'll see the Cal PERS and STIRS rates. They're really high. They're going to continue to go higher. And if you take a step back and look at the liability, we are underfunded. So this is what we're trying to do to kind of catch up. And so just be mindful when you're doing the budgeting process. And as I said before, I'm not going to go too far into the economic outlook. There are new monies coming because of the pandemic, and we're just going to keep working with the district management to ensure that they are in compliance with what they are allowed to spend this one-time funding on, to ensure there are no findings. Focusing on the financial trends analysis, I like to bring this up because you can see where you were a couple of years ago, where you ended, and then what you had as far as the adopted budget. And things have most likely changed since then, but I wanted to share with you a couple of items. You'll see at the bottom there, the available reserves as a percentage of total outgo. You guys are where you need to be. It is dropping down to 4.1% in the 2021 fiscal year, but I'm sure you guys will revise as necessary. Looking at the total long-term debt, you've had a series of bond issuances over the last few years. You've had significant increases in the pension and OPEB liability, and that's the reason why your district has seen an increase of about $102.4 million increase in the long-term liabilities. There is some good news down there. You'll see the ADA has been increasing. However, you have budgeted a decrease for the 2021 fiscal year. So just be mindful because, as I mentioned earlier, 82% of your funding has come from LCFF. And one of the items that's in that formula is the ADA component. I mentioned at the beginning that we issued an unmodified opinion on the financial statements. There are a couple other communications. We issued a report on compliance with state laws and regulations. That's the state compliance audit. And then we issued a report on internal control of financial reporting and compliance. And that basically talks about the internal control structure at the district. And then we did a federal audit. So anytime a district has spent over $750,000 in federal funding, they're required to have a single audit, and it's required by the uniform guidance. And so we conducted that audit, and there's an internal control component of that as well. And then we had a separate communication to you as a governing board on the scope of the audit. So I'm going to go over all of this information here shortly. So starting with the state compliance, there was no items to report because the district was in compliance with all of the state laws and regulations. So that's good news. We issued an unmodified opinion there. Focusing on the internal control letter, there were no matters to report. This is a huge deal I want to emphasize here. No control deficiencies, no significant deficiencies, and no material weaknesses. This is huge, especially with this year with the pandemic and shifting to remote work. This is from the auditor's point of view. Our perspective, the audit risk actually went to a higher level. So we wanted to do more work to get comfortable making sure that the district had sound controls in place when the work shifted to remote. Because if something was to go wrong, that's when it would go wrong. So district did a great job. They talked to us about maybe adjusting some of their policies and procedures around doing electronic signatures and so forth. And they did a great job. We didn't have any issues whatsoever. And so kudos to the management team on ensuring that they had good sound controls and checks and balances at the district. So just wanted to highlight that. In regards to the federal audit, the single audit, no matters to report, we issued an unmodified opinion there. And then as far as the internal control, again, no control deficiencies, no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses. So good job there. A clean audit all the way through. And then we followed up on a finding from the prior year. We had an ASB finding, and when we came back and looked at the ASB sites, we noted that the prior year recommendation was implemented, and there were no findings in the current year. And that's another big deal because if something was to go wrong, and usually with ASB, there are always findings. You guys didn't have any, so that's amazing. So the last part was the governance letter that we issued. That basically talks about the scope of the audit, the timing, if there's any significant accounting policies that were implemented, any difficulties with the audit or any audit adjustments, any disagreements. So basically, we didn't have to reach out to you because there's nothing to report. The audit went smoothly. We did have to do remote procedures because of the pandemic, but the team did a great job at communicating using the secure portal. We did a lot of work through technology. We have a similar system to Zoom on how we can basically meet and be able to observe items. And so the district did a great job of giving everything to us timely. We were able to issue the audit without any issues whatsoever. So again, kudos to your management team on helping us with the audit process. And so wanted to conclude on the district audit, the financial condition, as I mentioned, has been improving. And that's basically a result of your management team making good, sound management decisions, financial decisions. So good job there. And again, we just wanted to thank Kelly, Corinne, and the district staff for all their hard work with the audit process. We did a lot more work than years prior just because of the pandemic, but again, they did a great job. And then I'll just leave it up to you guys for any questions on the district audit results. Any questions?
Okay, folks, any questions for Jesse? Okay, well, Jane, any comment?
I just want to say thank you, Jesse, but Kelly, you and your team, you guys, you are awesome, all of you. I think it's been a while since we had an audit report with no issues. They've always been minor, but Associated Student Body is always an area where you always have findings because they're at sites, they're collecting cash. It's easy for there to often be mistakes. So this just speaks to the work of Kelly, and I don't know if anybody knows this, but Kelly Burks works all the time. I keep telling her, stop sending emails at midnight, and this is our budget in such incredible shape. So Kelly Burks, would you like to say anything?
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And I just want to thank Jesse personally, and as well as Mario, who was worked with us on this audit a lot. And I just appreciate all of their help, especially with this being my first year as the CBO. I can always call them and reach out and ask questions, and they're great to work with. So I appreciate that. And then I also just wanted to thank Corinne and the fiscal staff for all the work they did in pulling everything together. So thank you.
And the amount of training that I'm not sure the board knows how much training you've done with site staff. I think it's been phenomenal. I think Jennifer Stahlheber started it a couple of years ago and you've continued it, but I think it's more than this district has had in years with site staff, principals, secretaries, ASB people. So it's really paid off. Great job.
Okay. So we need to approve the, to accept the VUSD statements, financial statements with independent auditors report. So
I'll go ahead and make the motion with just a thank you to Kelly and the team for doing that. Kelly, this is your first year. You set the bar. So from now on, there better not be any mistakes, right? You've set the bar as where it is. And high as always, but I'll make the motion to approve the report as presented.
And I will second with the same kudos.
okay, Teresa.
All right. Okay, Mr. Conley, your vote, please.
Yes.
Mrs. Daly?
Yes.
Mr. Jansen?
Yes.
Mr. Santillan?
Yes.
Mr. Serrato?
Yes.
Ms. Welsh?
Yes.
And Mr. Kitsis?
Yes, thank you very much. And Jesse, the tech is asking if you could unshare for a moment.
Oh, okay. Unshare.
There we go.
Thank you. I don't know why exactly.
That's okay.
Ken, are we okay? Our Director of Technology, are we good?
Yeah, we're fine. It's just usually when we do a vote, we like to see the
Right.
the board members while they're voting.
Okay,
That's all.
thank you. And just before we go on, Kelly, that was, I loved watching your face when Jesse was reporting. You're so happy with the finance stuff. It's like so pleasurable. So great job.
Good job.
Okay, Jesse, you're up.
Okay. Can you guys see the screen okay?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to give you guys a brief overview of the Measure A financial audit results. So I'm not going to get into the background. You guys know that you've had a bond audit, and tell you about the financial audit. So we are basically attesting to the fairness of the financial statements as of June 30th, 2020. And we're looking at the internal controls over the bond building fund, the bond proceeds, and then we're going to test transactions, and then we basically will let you know of the fairness of the financials as of 6/30/2020. And so we've had 4 series, and I have all the details there for you. That's $194 million total. We basically tested to ensure that when the money was deposited, that it was booked correctly in the financial system. And then focusing on the June 30th, 2020 results, this is the balance sheet. And you'll notice that we have cash and equivalents. That's $84 million of unspent funds as of that date. We have a little bit of accounts receivable and due from other funds. We have some accounts payable of almost $2 million. That's just accounts payable, any vendor invoices as of 6/30. They have been paid since. And then we have the unspent funds restricted for Measure A projects of $81.9 million. And then basically how we got there, we have some other state revenue. And this is basically just the on behalf portion of that's allocated to the individuals that were working on the bond projects. So the on behalf was booked in the other state revenue, and then in the employee benefits, you'll see the offsetting 16,872 is within that 107,349. Then you'll see the other local revenues. That's just the interest earned on the unspent funds. So that's the only type of revenues you'll ever see on a bond project. And then you'll see the expenditures there. Majority of that, you'll see that 30.3 million, that's the capital outlay. As I mentioned earlier, when you looked at the fixed assets, the capital assets net of depreciation on the district results, that's where that increase was in those completed projects. And so, and then at the bottom there, other financing sources, that's the proceeds of that new issuance that we had, almost $2 million. And so again, we ensured that it was booked correctly in the district financials. And then all in all, you see the change in fund balance of $40.2 million. So we started off with 41.7 million, then we ended up with $81.9 million. So we issued an unmodified opinion on the bond audit, the financial audit. Along with that, we have 2 communications. We have the internal control report over the bond, and then we have the governance letter for the bond. And so basically, there were no control deficiencies, no material weaknesses, or significant deficiencies. So there were good sound controls over the bond proceeds. Again, we issued an unmodified opinion on the financials. That means they were fairly stated as of 6/30/2020. And then the governance letter basically just memorializes what happened, the scope of the audit, timing, and if there's any issues. Again, we didn't have to reach out because there were no issues. So no news was good news in this regard. And so wanted to conclude that again, financials were fairly stated in all material aspects. And again, a special thank you to Kelly, Corinne, and the district staff for their hard work with the audit process. And I'll leave it up to you guys for any questions.
Looks like it's very clear. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so the recommendation is to approve the Measure A performance audit for the fiscal year 2019-20.
I'll move to approve it.
I'll move it. I'll second it.
Mr. Conley, your vote, please.
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Jansen?
Yes.
Mr. Santillan?
Yes.
Mr. Storato?
Yes.
Ms. Welsh?
Yes.
And Mr. Kitsis?
Yes, and Jesse, thank you for spending the better part of your evening with us.
You're always welcome.
Thank you, Jesse.
You're welcome.
Good job.
Okay. So we're going to move on to 18C, the approval of the annual developer fee report for fiscal year 2019 and 20. Dan, is there anything you want to say about that?
Actually, I think, Michael, you might have skipped over my performance audit. I think that was first. The Measure A performance audit?
I guess so. Okay. No, didn't we do that?
No, that was a financial. There's a performance audit as well.
Okay. Well, in that case, for Dan, we'll do 18B, acceptance of the Measure A performance. Which part, Dan? I'm looking at it, I'm not seeing it.
Okay. So when Mr. Dio gave his presentation, it was for both. So it was actually should have just been one vote. I just now caught that for 18A.
Okay.
Okay, so I have Mr. Jansen and Mr. Conley on that one as far as the motion in the second. So let's do a redo on 18B since it's a different, just Mr. Deal had two presentations for the same audit, same item for the audit on 18A. That's where the confusion was. So this one's a separate one.
But Mr. Deal just talked about the Measure A performance audit, and that's what we voted on, no?
No, he talked about the financial audit. I'm sorry, that was my fault. I should have caught that. So he did the district's financial audit and the Measure A financial audit. And Mr. Banowitz is doing the acceptance of the Measure A performance audit, which is different. And he could explain to you what the difference is there.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Okay, so because of for the bond, the requirement is we have to, we do have our financial audit that Jesse takes care of as part of the district audit. But we also have to have a performance audit done. And they look at the financials of Measure A, but they're also looking at our procedures and how we are performing and executing the projects that for Measure A. So that's what the performance audit is for, not just the financial, but that we are following all the rules and laws that we have to follow when we're completing our projects, as far as how things are going out to bid, and everything is followed up, all the paperwork and everything that they do. And it is something that is done on an annual basis. I'm going to share my screen real quick because there is these are, it's a whole big audit, but just to point out a couple things, this is from the executive summary. And one of the things, and this is a testament to Kelly and Kareen and to our budget analysts with capital program management, or CPM, that they have noted a significant improvement in the skill level of our accounting departments and the personnel over the last couple of years. So that's a real nice thing that they point out. And also that we are also, we've incorporated a lot of our Prop 39 funds that we're spending it well. We've done the things that we need to do to get the most value for our taxpayers. And that's a great thing to see on this, and it shows the taxpayers we are doing what we need to do. There was no findings in the report, which is a great thing. But there are a couple of their recommendations, and this is from auditors that have been doing this for a long time. And they gave us 3 recommendations that we're looking into. One of them is regarding the website, and that's something that that we're working on updating and keeping more up to date. It's a lot of information that we kind of let slip a little bit. So we're working on that. And the other thing on this report, if you read it, is the compliance, to the requirements after we had the sale of the $71 million Series D. Kelly has already presented that to you, and it was approved a couple board meetings ago. So I just wanted to point those things out, and that was all I had.
Thank you, Dan. Any questions at all? Okay, Dan, I assume that you're still looking for people for the COC, is that correct?
We are. Right now, we have received 4 new applications. And I've been in touch with the Solano County Taxpayers Association. I've been emailing with them because we do need a member that is a member of the Taxpayers Association. So we're working with them to find one of their members to be our 5th, and then we'll be up to 7 members, so we'd have a full COC. Our next meeting is on February 10th, and the 2 of the applicants that we've received so far I've reached out to, and they're going to be joining us on that meeting. They will not be COC members until the board approves them, so I'll be presenting them in March, and all the new members for approval. But they are willing, and they're excited about joining the meeting. It's going to be via Zoom at 6 p.m. and they're going to be joining us to see how things work in this meeting with the existing members.
Great. Okay, so can we get a motion specifically about the approval of the Measure A performance audit?
I'll move it.
I second.
Okay, Mr. Conley, your vote, please.
Yes.
Mrs. Dally?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Jansen?
Yes.
Mr. Santillan?
Yes.
Mr. Serato?
Yes.
Ms. Welsh?
Yes.
And Mr. Kitsis?
Yes. Thank you. Okay, now we have the approval of the annual developer fee report for fiscal year 2019-20. I'm going to give a moment if anybody wants to make any comment about 18C. Please raise your hand.
I don't see any hands.
Okay, thank you. So, Dan.
Yes.
There are a lot of new people and stuff, so maybe just a really brief explanation of what we're doing.
Absolutely. The developer fees is a restricted fund. We can only use these fundings to mitigate the development in town. These monies are collected from developers and also from permits that are submitted from the city. So anytime somebody builds a house, an apartment complex, a commercial building, storage facility, the school district gets the fee from that. This report is an annual report that we need to submit because they are restricted funds that shows how we've collected it, how much we've collected, and how we're spending those funds. So that's what this report is. It's very brief, but that's the purpose of it.
Thank you. Any questions for Dan? Shelley?
You said from the city. What about the county? There's many houses that are in our district that are in the county.
Yeah, but those go to the county office of education because they're not within our jurisdiction in our city. So that's where they would go.
I have a question just about the report. I'm wondering, so what we charge or the fees collected pursuant to the Ed Code and the government code, that's the statutory minimum, correct? So there's nothing precluding us from perhaps collecting more than what's stated in the code?
No, that's actually the maximum. That is the maximum that we can charge. Right now for residential, it's $4.08 a square foot. That's the
Okay.
maximum that the state allows. They usually adjust that every couple of years. Then we have to have a justification study done in order to raise those rates. And we do that pretty much every couple of years. When they raise it, we do as well.
Okay.
But Dan, that's the maximum that we can demand.
Yes.
But we can negotiate with developers and get possibly more.
Yes, and to that, and actually this morning, every Thursday morning, I'm part of the project review committee with the city, and there's about 15 city employees from all levels, and we go over all the different projects that are happening within the city limits. And one of the discussions we had today was regarding some of the apartment complexes that are coming up, and we do charge that rate of $4.08 per square foot, but it's an apartment complex typically doesn't generate a lot of students, but it's the accumulation effect of there's 3 apartment complexes. The new one, the Strata 1200, it's on Allison, on Harbison, on the corner of Harbison and Ulatis. There's another 160 unit complex that they're working on. And then next to the transit unit is another complex. So it's an accumulation. All those would go to Cooper. So we actually, I have meetings set up with the city to start discussing the concerns the district has about the development in town and this, the school need that we have. So we are actively, I'm working on that, and then that will go to the 3x3, which is the meeting of 3 city officials and 3 district officials that will discuss all things. But this is going to be one of the main points. So we are really looking at that because it is at some point with all the development that's scheduled for the city of Vacaville, we're going to need to figure something out.
This is Kelly again. So do we have to initiate a fee study in order to increase or the amounts that we're charging, or how do we work with the city on that? Like, how does that work?
Well, regarding the state maximum, when the state raises that rate, then we have to do a justification study that shows that we are justified to charge that maximum rate. And that's what we do because it costs us between $5,000 to $7,000 to do a justification study, but we collect, the amount we collect far outweighs that, so it's really worthwhile for us to do that. The rest of it is, we do need the assistance from the city to work with them, to work with developers to increase that, because we can always, if the city charges more than the state maximum, that's allowed, but we don't have the power as a school district to tell a developer you're paying more. It's got to be a collaboration with the city.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, I mean, I've talked to multiple council members, and I know that they're starting to get very concerned that they would like to see more schools. They'd like to see more buildings for all the building that they're doing. So I think that there's an understanding that we have to work together to increase developer fees so we can afford to possibly build. Because the state has not been contributing over the last bunch of years the same that they were for us to build schools.
And the problem really is the cost of a school is so expensive to build. Our maximum rate is about 1/3 of what we need.
Yeah, I'd be interested in just getting further updates on those meetings that you have that are ongoing about the new developments and things like that. And I'd also be interested to see maybe what other cities and districts are charging. Maybe there's like a comparison we can look at. But I do know that there's, there has been lots of development and there is a lot on the horizon. And so I want to make sure that we're just getting our piece of the pie.
Mm-hmm. I agree, and I will provide updates to Kelly and Jane, and with when I have my meetings, there's going to be it's going to take a while. It's going to take a lot. It's not going to be something we can solve, I think, in one afternoon.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thanks.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the annual development fee report?
I'll move it.
Second.
Okay, Teresa? You're on mute, Teresa.
That would help. Sorry. Your vote, please.
Who's that?
Mr.
Me?
Conley?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, thank you. Miss Dally?
Yes.
Mr. Jansen?
Yes.
Mr. Santillan?
Yes.
Mr. Serato?
Yes.
Ms. Welsh?
Yes.
And Mr. Kitsis?
Yes. Okay, 18D. Just quickly, raise your hand if you want to comment. Okay, seeing none. We have the approval of the amendment to the employee agreement for our illustrious Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources. The board will consider approval of the amendment to the employment agreement for Christopher M. Hewlett as follows. Section 1 of the agreement is amended to: the expiration date is extended from June 30th, 2021 to June 30th, 2024, 3 additional years.
I'll move it.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any comments? Okay,
Okay.
Teresa.
Mr. Conley, your vote?
Yes.
Mrs. Dally?
Yes.
Mr. Jansen?
Yes.
Mr. Santillan?
Yes.
Mr. Serato?
Yes.
Ms. Welsh?
Yes.
And Mr. Kitsis?
I'll say yes, and thank you, Chris, for being an integral part of the team. Okay, next we have 18E, approval of contract with Division 515, a California corporation, for the Hemlock Ace Improvements Project.
I'll move it.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. Any comment? Okay, Teresa?
Okay, Mr. Conley, your vote, please?
Yes.
Mrs. Dally?
Yes.
Mr. Jansen?
Yes.
Mr. Santillan?
Yes.
Mr. Serato?
Yes.
Ms. Welsh?
Yes.
And Mr. Kitsis?
Yes. Okay, we now have the consent calendar. Routine items on the consent calendar are enacted by the board in one motion. Discussion only occurs if members of the board administration or public request specific items to be discussed and or removed from the consent calendar. So are there any items that anybody would want removed from the consent calendar?
If none, I'll move it.
Okay,
I'll second.
motion is second. Teresa?
Okay, Mr. Conley, your vote, please?
Yes.
Mrs. Dally?
Yes.
Mr. Jansen?
Yes.
Mr. Santillan?
Yes.
Mr. Serato?
Yes.
Ms. Welsh?
Yes.
And Mr. Kitsis?
Yes. Okay, next we have number 20, information items, consideration of supplemental instructional materials for elementary schools. These items are available to be seen at 401 Nut Tree Road, the Educational Services Center, and the Educational Services Department. The books are Brown Girl Dreaming, Front Desk, One Crazy Summer. Since LCFF funds will be used to purchase 30 copies of each title, total cost will be $749. Future business, we have a regular governing board meeting February 11th at 6:30. That'll be a Zoom webinar. And then we have a special governing board workshop February 20th. That at this point will be a Zoom workshop, a Zoom meeting as well. And then we have February 27th, which is really like the second half of that other meeting, but that's it. Any other thoughts? Thank you very much, everybody. Another long Zoom meeting. So we don't have closed session, so we are adjourned for the evening.
Thanks, Michael. Great job. Good night, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Night.